Uh-oh, I'm live. All right, sorry. This is like last minute, so bear with me. Guest, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to join. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
How's
good.
it going? Everything good? Good.
Yeah, so I've not had a chance to read this, so that's what we're going to
Good.
start doing. So everybody, this is Fig Solves. He has his own YouTube channel. He's done quite a few Delphi videos, and he's the one who sent me this probable cause affidavit. So like I said, we are going to start reading that in a minute. Yeah, I mean, there's so many questions and stuff like that. So this is
just read it.
This is 8 pages, correct?
Yeah, the 8th page is missing, but I think I have it. But yeah, the PDF is 7 pages. There's the 8th page. It's just signatures, basically.
Oh, okay.
And if everyone likes and subscribes to your channel, we'll give them the 8th page free.
Stop.
Do I really have to say that every 30 seconds? Like you told me backstage, like and subscribe. Or
I did not say that.
I'm just kidding.
All right. So let's get right to it, I guess. There's almost 100 people. Let me, so I think we're going to go off the screen. I'm going to present this. Hold on. Do you want to do a page and I'll do a page so I'm not doing the whole thing?
No, I think you should do the whole thing. Unless you want me to.
All right. I'm going to take us off so people can see this better.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll make it bigger. Oh, crap. Sorry. Do this. All right, everybody. So yeah, I'm not going to see the comments until I finish reading this. So you guys can talk to each other. Just please be polite to each other. So here we go. How can I see this? So it says, let me just go up here real quick. This part isn't, I guess, that important. We just want to find out the facts. So that the facts and circumstances described below would be sufficient basis for a person of reasonable caution and prudence to believe that the accused has committed or attempted to commit the offense described, and that if arrested without a warrant, such would be authorized under IC whatever, that the hearsay statements of witnesses contained herein are considered reliable and credible due to the witness's personal knowledge and or are corroborated by the totality of the circumstances. All right, so this is the bottom of page 1. That on February 14th, 2017, victim 1 and victim 2, I believe Abby is considered victim 1 and Libby victim 2, were found deceased in the woods approximately 0.2 miles northeast of the Monon High Bridge in Carroll County. Their bodies were located on the north side of the Deer Creek. At the time, the Monon High Bridge Trail was an approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is an abandoned railroad trestle approximately 0.25 miles long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley on the southeast end of the trail. Approximately 0.7 miles northwest of the trail, northwest on the trail from the northwestern edge of the Monon High Bridge is the Freedom Bridge, which is a pedestrian bridge spanning State Road 25. Approximately 300 feet west of Freedom Bridge was a former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25, also known as County Road 300 North. The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is in a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies were and are located in Carroll County, Indiana. Do you want to read the rest of this page?
Sure.
All right.
Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest Store, investigators believe victim 1 and victim 2 were dropped off across from the Mears farm at 1:49 p.m. on February 13th, 2017 by blank. The Mears farm is located on the north side of Country Road 300 North near an entrance to the trails. A video from victim 2's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., victim 1 and victim 2 encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. The male ordered the guys down the hill. No witnesses saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on victim 2's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered on February 14th, 2017. The video recovered from victim 2's phone shows victim 1 walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches victim 1 and victim 2, one of the victims mentions gun. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the guys down the hill. The girls then begin to proceed down the hill and the video ends. A still photograph taken from the video and the guys down the hill audio was subsequently released to the public to assist investigators in identifying the male. Victim 1 and victim 2's deaths were ruled as homicides. Clothes were found in Deer Creek belonging to victim 1 and victim 2, south of where the bodies were located. There was also a .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from victim 2's body between victim 1 and 2's bodies. The round was unspent and had extraction marks on it. Interviews were conducted with 3 juveniles, blank and blank. They advised they were on the Monon High Bridge Trail on February 13th, 2017. They advised they were walking on the trail toward Freedom Bridge to go home when they encountered a male walking from Freedom Bridge toward the Monon High Bridge. Described the male as kind of creepy. As advised, he was wearing like blue jeans, a like really light blue jacket, and his hair was gray and a little brown, and he did not really show his face. She advised the jacket was a duck canvas type jacket. Advised she said hi to the male, but he just glared at them. She recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. She described him as not very tall with a bigger build. She said he was not bigger than 5'10". Advised he was wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. She stated he had his hands in his pockets. Showed investigators photographs she took on her phone while she was at the trail that day. Is it your turn?
Sure. Sorry to put you on the spot. The photographs included a photo of the Monon High Bridge taken at 12:43 p.m. and another one taken at 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. Blank advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking back toward Freedom Bridge. She advised that was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim 2's video. Blank described the man she encountered on the trail as wearing a blue or black windbreaker jacket. She advised the jacket had a collar and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath his jacket. She advised he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. She advised her head came up to approximately his shoulder. She advised Blank said hi to the man and that he said nothing back. She stated he was walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. She stated he had his hands in his pockets and kept his head down. She advised she did not get a good look at his face, but believed him to be a white male. The girls advised after encountering the male, they continued their walk across Freedom Bridge and the old railroad bridge over Old State Road 25. Investigators spoke with Blank, who advised she was on the trails on February 13th, 2017. Video from the Hoosier Harvest Store, which I believe is right across from the CPS building, but we'll talk about that later, captured Blank vehicle traveling eastbound at 1:46 p.m. toward the entrance across from the Mears farm. Blank advised she saw 4 juvenile females walking on the bridge over Old State Road 25 as she was driving underneath on her way to park. Blank advised there were no other cars parked across from the Mears farm when she parked. She advised she walked to the Monon High Bridge and observed a male matching the one from victim 2's video. She described the male she saw as a white male wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. She advised he was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet from her. She advised she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk. She advised approximately halfway between the bridge and the parking area across from the Mears farm, which is where Abby and Libby were dropped off, she passed two girls walking toward Monon High Bridge. She advised she believed the girls were victim 1 and victim 2. Video from the Hoosier Harvest Store shows at 1:49 p.m. a white car matching blank vehicle traveling away from the entrance across from Mears farm. Blank advised she finished her walk and saw no other adults other than the male on the bridge. Her vehicle is seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video at 2:14 p.m., leaving westbound from the trails. Blank advised when she was leaving, she noted a vehicle was parked in an odd manner at the old Child Protective Services building. That's the CPS building that police have always asked about the driver of a vehicle. She said it was not odd for vehicles to be parked there, but she noticed it was odd because of the manner it was parked, backed in near the building. I'll do one more page after this so you don't have to worry. Investigators received a tip from Blank in which he stated he was on his way to Delphi on State Road 25 around 2:10 p.m. So this is 3 minutes before Rick encountered the girls. He observed a purple PT Cruiser car or a small SUV type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. He stated it appeared as though it was backed in as to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. Blank both drew diagrams of where they saw the vehicle parked, and their diagram generally matched as to the area the vehicle was parked and the manner in which it was parked. Blank advised he remembered seeing a smaller, dark-colored car parked at this old CPS building. He described it as possibly being a, quote, smart car. Blank vehicle is seen leaving at 2:28 p.m. on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. Investigators spoke with Blank, who stated that she was traveling east on 300 North on February 13th, 2022. Why would they? That's wrong, isn't it? Anyway, we'll figure it out later. I think it should say 2017. And observed a male subject walking west on the north side. Sorry, I'm trying to comprehend this while I'm reading it. And observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North, away from the Monon High Bridge. Blank advised that the male subject was wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. Investigators were able to determine from watching the video from the Hoosier Harvest Store that Blank was traveling on CR 300 North at approximately 3:57 p.m. Through interviews, electronic data, photographs, and video from the Hoosier Harvest Store, investigators determined that there were other people on the trail that day after 2:13 p.m. Those people were interviewed, and none of those individuals encountered the male subject referenced above, witnessed by the juvenile girls, Blank and Blank. Further, none of those individuals witnessed victim 1 and victim 2. Investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen in 2017. That narrative stated, Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3. So this is, you add 12 hours for military time. So between 1:30 and 3:30, the day of the murders. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. Yeah, right. The yeah, right wasn't in the affidavit. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead, however, did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following. So every cell phone has these IDs, and that's what this is referring to. Potential follow-up information. Who were the 3 girls walking in the area of Freedom Bridge? Or maybe follow up and, oh my, I can't believe that he wasn't looked into further. All right, I'll keep going. Investigators believe Mr. Allen was referring to the former Child Protect CPS building, as there was not a Farm Bureau building in the area, nor had there been. Investigators believe the females he saw included blank and blank due to the time they were leaving the trail, the time he reported getting to the trail, and the descriptions the 3 females gave. Investigators discovered Richard Allen owned 2 vehicles in 2017, a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harbor Store video at 1:27 p.m., traveling westbound on CR 300 North in front of the Hoosier Harbor Store, which coincided with his statement that he arrived around 1:30 p.m. on the trails. Investigators note witnesses described the vehicle parked at the former CPS building as a PT Cruiser, small SUV, or smart car. Investigators believe those descriptions are similar in nature to a 2016 Ford Focus. On October 13th, 2022, which is the day that police raided his house, Richard Allen was interviewed again by investigators. He advised he was on the trails on February 13th, 2017. He stated he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. Guilty. Sorry. Richard Allen further stated he went out onto the Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. Sorry, I have like an internal dialogue going as I'm reading this. Later in his statement, he said he walked out to the first platform of the bridge. He stated he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then left. He stated he parked his car on the side of an old building. He told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. He further claimed he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls he saw east of Freedom Bridge. He told investigators that he owns firearms and they are at his home. Richard M. Allen's wife, Kathy, also spoke to investigators. She confirmed that Richard did have guns and knives at the residence. She also stated that Richard still owns a blue Carhartt jacket. Yeah, we're going to have to look into that later. On October 13th, the day they raided his house, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence at that address in Delphi. Among other items, officers located jackets, boots, knives, and firearms, including a Sig Sauer, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, model P226 40 caliber pistol with this serial number. Between October 14th, 2022 and October 19th, the ISP laboratory performed an analysis on Rick's gun. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and NIBN. The laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of Libby's body had been cycled through Richard Allen's gun. The laboratory remarked, an identification opinion is reached when the evidence exhibits an agreement of class characteristics and a sufficient agreement of individual marks. Sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated/impressed marks as evidenced by the correspondence of a pattern or combination of patterns of surface contours. The interpretation of identification is subjective in nature and based on relevant scientific research and the reporting examiner's training and experience. Investigators then ran the firearm, Rick's gun, and found that the firearm was purchased by Rick in 2001. Rick voluntarily came to the ISP post on October 26, 2022. He spoke with investigators and stated that he never allowed anyone to use or borrow his gun. When asked about the unspent bullet, he did not have an explanation of why the bullet was found between the bodies of Abby and Libby. He again admitted that he was on the trail, but denied knowing Abby or Libby and denied any involvement in their murders. Carroll County Sheriff's Department Detective Blank has been part of the investigation since it started in 2017. He has had an opportunity to review and examine evidence gathered in this investigation. Detective Blank, along with other investigators, believe the evidence gathered shows that Rick Allen is the male subject seen on the video from Libby's phone who forced the victims down the hill. Further, that the victims were forced down the hill by Richard Allen and led to the location where they were murdered. All right, I think there's one more page after this. Through the statements and photographs of the juvenile females and the statement of blank and blank were at the southeast edge of the trail at 12:43 p.m. east of Freedom Bridge at 1:26 p.m. and walked across the former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25 after 1:26 p.m. and before 1:46 p.m. They walked the entirety of the trail and observed only one person, an adult male. Blank vehicle is seen on Hoosier Harvest Store video at 1:46 p.m. and leaving at 2:14 p.m. and she stated she only saw one adult male. Blank and blank described the male in similar manners, wearing similar clothing, leading investigators to believe all four saw the same male individual, Rick. Investigators believe the male observed by blank and blank is the same male depicted in the video from Libby's phone, due to the description of the male by the four females matching the male in the video. Furthermore, Libby's video was taken at 2:13 p.m. and blank saw only one male while she was on the trail from approximately 1:46 to 2:14 p.m. Investigators believe Richard Allen was the male seen by blank and the male seen in Libby's video. Richard Allen told investigators he was on the trail from 1:30 to 3:30 that day. Video from across from CPS, which is the Hoosier Harvest Store, shows a vehicle that matches the description of Rick's car passing at 1:27 p.m. toward the former CPS building. The clothing he told investigators he was wearing matched the clothing of the male in Libby's video and the clothing descriptions provided by witnesses. A vehicle matching the description of his 2016 Ford Focus is seen at or around 2:10 p.m., 2:14 p.m., and 2:28 p.m. at the former CPS building. Through his own admissions, Rick walked the trails and eventually hiked to the Monon High Bridge and walked out onto the Monon High Bridge. All right, I'm feeling a little bit better about this case. Hold on. A male subject matching Richard Allen's description was not seen on the trail after 2:13 p.m. Investigators identified other individuals on the trails or CR 300 North between 2:30 p.m. and 4:11 p.m. None of those individuals saw a male subject matching the description of Richard Allen on the trail. Furthermore, Richard Allen stated that he only saw 3 girls on the trail who investigators believed to be these witnesses. Investigators believe Richard Allen was not seen on the trail after 2:13 p.m. when he encountered Abby and Libby because he was in the woods with Abby and Libby. An unspent .40 caliber round between the bodies of Abby and Libby was forensically determined to have been cycled through Rick's gun. The gun was found at Rick's house, and he admitted to owning it. Investigators were able to determine that he had owned it since 2001. Richard Allen stated he had not been on that property where the unspent round was found, that he did not know the property owner, Ron Logan, and that he had no explanation as to why a round cycled through his firearm would be at that location. Furthermore, he stated that he never allowed anyone to use or borrow his gun. Where am I at? Investigators believe that after the victims were murdered, Rick returned to his vehicle by walking down CR 300 North, which is, I guess, the road. If you're looking at the satellite image, is to the right or to the east of the actual trails. Investigators believe he was seen by Blank walking back to his vehicle on that 300 North Road with clothes that were muddy and bloody. I'm at the bottom here. Let me see. Blank, along with investigators, believe the statements made by the witnesses because the statements corroborate the timeline of the death, the two victims, as well as coincide with the admissions made by Rick. Further, the accounts relayed by Blank and Blank are similar in nature, and timestamps on photographs taken by Blank correspond to the times the juvenile females said they were on the trail and saw a male individual. All right. Some crazy stuff there. So I'll take this off and
Crazy.
hold on, stop screen. Wow. So what did you think so everybody, this is Fig Solves. He has his own YouTube channel. He's the one who sent me this. Sorry, my face is really pink looking, but anyways, that's not important. So what did you think when you first read this?
Like, yeah, holy crap. They're just mind blowing. I kind of thought, how'd they not arrest this guy beforehand? How did they not execute a search warrant before? I mean, this timeline seemed like it added up to him being involved. And yeah, so as usual with this case, probably more questions than answers, but a lot of answers.
So do you think it's
what you're thinking? Yes.
Yeah, I was concerned, but I mean, just reading that stuff, it's like, who else could it have been? I don't know exactly when they would have found out some of this other information, but it seems like it was all available in February 2017.
Right. I'm curious. It kind of mentions in there what prompted this new search warrant, and it said something like the investigator reviewing early notes or something like that.
That was what the murder sheet said. Like,
mhm.
I mean, there's been various rumors about how they got back to it, but thank you whoever sent that. Apparently, I don't know if Kegan started saying stuff that did not turn out to be true, like, oh, we threw a weapon or cell phone in the Wabash River after me and my dad were involved in the murder. I guess the rumors that police got frustrated with the case, they started to go back from the beginning. And maybe, I mean, whoever looked at it again said, well, what about this guy, Rick Allen? I don't know. We'll say, sorry, everybody in the comments, I'll start highlighting your comments.
And if it wasn't enough to get a search warrant in 2017, then would they do ask extra nice to get a search warrant this time? Or was it something else? Or did they not even try to get a search warrant in 2017? That'd be disappointing.
I know. I mean, well, people were saying maybe the police did not know that Rick owned a gun that would match the bullet type in 2017. And they just maybe found that out when they again looked through his house in October 13th of this year. Yeah, here's something. Let's see. Hi, Judy. Not only did he not see Libby's phone, but he also left his bullet behind. So everybody who's seen this video knows that there's kind of like a little blip in the video on the side, and people have always speculated that Libby was kind of maybe taking video of Abby. So I don't know how, if Abby was even more in the frame than we know, but I don't know. I mean, it's just speculation as to if Rick, as he was walking, did he think that Libby was taking a photo of Abby, or people said maybe she was holding it backwards, and I don't know, but it seems crazy to me that he was actually seen on the bridge, I guess, before the girls, and then he went back toward Freedom Bridge. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at that at some point. But also what I was thinking is like, Did police ask him, why were you out on the trails on a Monday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m.? It's like, if he said, oh, I was out exercising, it's like, well, if you want exercise, you only live a mile and a half from the bridge. Why would you drive your car to a bridge that's a mile and a
Right.
half away?
Yeah, he said to look at fish. Is that what it said? Like, really? That's to
And they
look at
bought that?
fish.
I mean, it's like 60 feet up. It's like,
Right.
I'm shocked, honestly, that this has gone so long without him being arrested.
Yeah, there's a huge gap in here between February, whenever they talked to him, early February 2017, and then it just skips forward to 2022. It's like no attention during that time, nothing to say.
Cassidy says, I feel like he left the bullet on purpose. Yeah, so in my chat a few weeks ago, I think you were the one who kind of revealed that this gun casing was found there, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have any more information that you want to share without saying anything? I mean, people were telling me, because I'm not really familiar with guns and bullets, and people said a bullet is more like you can be mashed up to a gun, but do you know anything about this unspent casing, how it could have fallen out or something like that?
It could have been that he fired it a few months ago, but the casing never came out. And that when he cocked it back, when he was there at the trails, maybe that's when it came out.
Well, it seems like it was found between their bodies. People were speculating maybe when he encountered them at the end of the bridge is when he like pulled it out and said, like, I have a gun. And
Right.
people thought maybe it fell out by the bridge, but it seems like it just said it was between their bodies. So I don't know if it maybe fell out as he was cleaning up or moving their bodies around, and he just never saw that it fell out. And he obviously never really had a chance to go back and look for it. So I would
Right.
say that seems like it's more than him just leaving it there on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose. I don't think he wanted to get caught. I don't think he would leave it there on purpose because, yeah, they could trace to the exact gun that he had. I don't think he knew about it. Otherwise, you would think he would have got rid of his gun.
Hold on, there's a lot of comments. Hi, Steph. Maybe he just used the gun to get them to walk down, but used another weapon. Yeah, well, in the Ron Logan document, it said that they were killed with a sharp object, I think. So it's just assumed that they were killed with a knife and not the gun.
Right. He just used them to get them where he wanted them to go. And then, yeah, they are charging him. I don't know if you got the charge documents I sent too, but with kidnapping and murder.
Oh, yeah, I did not see that. Yeah, so I guess felony murder is based on if you commit a murder where it's also another crime was committed. So if he tells him to go down the hill, that's kidnapping.
Right. Yep.
Trish says, is that good enough evidence? Does anyone know? Well, if I was on a jury at this point, from what I've seen, I would say he's guilty. I mean, I don't know what else they have.
Yeah, and I don't think the defense knows either because they haven't had like their discovery type thing yet where they have to show all the evidence. So hopefully they have more than this though, because we want it to be a no-brainer.
Mhm.
But they have a lot. But yeah, I wish they had some DNA or some clothing of the girls found at his house, but it doesn't sound like that.
So Boo 2 says there will be another consultant scientist who will prove the opposite about the casing. I mean, I guess the issue is how reliable is it that that exact casing would belong specifically just to his gun and not somebody else who has that same 40 caliber gun.
So it puts like almost like a stamp on the bullet, the gun does, that it's almost unique as a thumbprint. So it could tell if that bullet has been fired from that gun. His defense might be, oh, I was out there a few weeks ago or months ago. Yeah, I shot out there before and I wasn't doing anything wrong.
You know, he said he was never on Ron Logan's property.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that a handgun that it was?
Yes.
So like, what is he shooting anywhere? Does he go to a firing range and then you match up the back of the casing to a test that the Indiana State Police did and it showed up in the same part of the casing? Is that how it works?
I mean, he would all be lying. So he's got to come up with a pretty good lie, but he just has to cause reasonable doubt in one of the jurors. So, I mean, it's good. It makes sense what they have. I just want it to be even more concrete.
A semi-automatic ejects the shell and chambers the next round at the time it is fired.
Right. So
Jack
if there was
says,
a mishap there, that's the only thing I'm thinking. Or I don't know, maybe he shot the gun. Maybe I mean, who knows? We don't know if there's any reports that people heard a gun or not. I mean, we didn't know Richard Allen was there that day. There's a lot we don't know.
yeah.
So maybe there was a gunshot heard.
Well, I've always thought, I mean, in the winter with no leaves on the trees, any kind of gunshot, unless you had like a silencer, people would definitely reported it.
Well, and there's hunting out there. So maybe the people are just used to it. They're immune to it. I don't know. There's still a lot of unknowns. That's what, like, there's still a lot of questions.
Jack says the round hadn't been discharged. He had it chambered and then ejected it by sliding the top slide. He would have seen it though. So why didn't he pick it up? Well, like I said, maybe he was moving their bodies around or something and it fell out somehow. Sorry, there's a lot of comments. Hi, Dave. The gun and casing alone is not enough. It's going to be all the other evidence. I'll be Frank says, don't forget they have the 43-second clip that will be used. Yeah, I'm curious to know if his voice is on there even more. Christy says they didn't look at what they had because they had no experience or training investigating a stone whodunit. Yeah, but I mean, it's like this one guy is the only guy who's referenced out on the trails, and he totally matches up his clothes. I was curious about that one person who said he was walking back bloody and muddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, as I was reading that, I couldn't really figure out who all these people were. So was that woman or whatever driving by, or did she walk? Do you know?
It didn't say, but so you know that the hitchhiker video that I made, it's kind of like right where they saw that hitchhiker who wasn't really a hitchhiker. Like that's kind of where it sounds like it went down. Like someone was seen there.
But 300 is that Hoosier Heartland Highway or to the west of the trails, or is it the smaller? I think it's the smaller one to the right, correct? Like where the Mears Farm is, like their entrance.
It goes around. There's like a west and east to it, but it's right by the. Yeah, could pull up a map.
It goes underneath Hoosier Heartland Highway.
Yes.
Little Daisy says, I'm sure this info is just the tip of the iceberg. There must be so much more unknown to us. Well, this was just to get him arrested, correct? There's more evidence that can be revealed at the trial, or at least it has to be revealed to the defense during discovery.
Right. So, yeah, this is just it's a persuasive type of document that is meant to give probable cause to search his residence. Now, they just said we talked to him again, and he admitted to having the gun. His wife admitted to that he had the gun and the clothes. So this doesn't discuss anything that was actually found after this was executed.
I'm searching Carhartt jacket real quick.
Oh, I emailed you the jacket and the car as you were reading wonderfully.
Stop. Let me see. All right, I'll show this real quick. Let's see. So this is a Carhartt jacket that Fig Solves just sent to me. Let's see. Did you do any? Is that just a brand name or something?
Yes.
Carhartt?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's very common for, I'd say, blue collar type work.
Mm-hmm. But he still owned it? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I wonder, I mean, obviously they would have taken it and tested for DNA, and they also took his car on the 13th, correct?
Yes.
What was, I don't think he had the Ford Focus in the driveway at that time, did he? In 2022?
Now I'm gonna have to go back and look, but it looked like it. Like when that video of the wife going up while he was in the car, that looked like a Ford Focus. It was pretty low to the ground. It didn't show the whole car.
From what I remember, I thought it was more like a minivan type thing where they were both sitting in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have
Custard
to go back and
Gannett
watch
says
it.
he still has to be invoked. I think I mean involved with the Anthony Shots account. He wouldn't know they would be there otherwise. He was there with a purpose. Well, I mean, I guess we'll find out. What do you think at this point? Involved with Anthony Shots and Kegan and maybe Tony or no?
So say that nothing in here that makes me think that anyone else was involved. Right. I mean, I don't read this and think, oh yeah, there was someone else involved. I mean, maybe he followed them, maybe he was stalking them. I mean, I know about all the Kegan Klein stuff, the involvement. I've made many videos about that. But as far as this evidence, I don't know. I want to see more of what they know.
Yeah, I mean, I have not seen any connection with the Kleins and Rick, but I guess we'll find out. I mean, there's definitely so many things that do point to being possible, like Kegan being involved. And I mean, these crazy things about Kegan apparently recently saying he and his dad were involved. And it's like, at what point is this going to come out if they were or not? I don't know. So Mark says, do we think Rick has killed before? Well, his DNA is now in the system. So I guess any unsolved crimes will maybe match up with his DNA.
Right. The code is hopefully, yeah, it does solve other crimes.
The Rockway says, wait to hear from the defense experts who shred the eyewitnesses, cast doubt on the video, and then blow up ballistics match a report that says the exact opposite. Well, I mean, there's definitely some things here that's like, it seems a major coincidence, like his car, a bullet from his exact type of gun, the same clothing. He was the only adult seen on the trails.
Yeah, he put himself there. He fits the description.
Yeah, I would imagine if that car was sold, they could track it down and maybe do some DNA testing on it, which they apparently did with the Klein's red Jeep. Jack says definitely would have a fingerprint on the casing when he loaded the round into the magazine, unless, of course, he wore gloves.
Yeah, it sounds like he did wear gloves because everyone saw him with his hands in his pockets, and for them not to be any fingerprints on him after the violent crime he committed, I mean, he must have wore gloves.
Brandy says Channel 13 reported Logan. It's my local news. Do you know what she's referring to?
Nope, you should never watch that Channel 13 again.
What?
That's fake news. Yes, it's not Logan.
Yeah, I don't know what she's
mistake.
referring to. This story is so confusing to me. It took 5 years to pin the bullet on the guy. Hope they have better evidence than that. Hope there's DNA or something. Just saying, RIP girls. You know, like I said, I don't know if they knew that Rick had this exact type of gun, but I mean, you would think they could have looked into it more in 2017. I just can't understand what their thinking was.
Yeah, or if they asked one of the witnesses, hey, this guy said he was here. Is this the person you guys saw?
Yeah, I know. It's like he lived a mile and a half away. He works at CVS. Why couldn't they have said, okay, here's a picture? Why couldn't they take a picture of him and show them to these 4 witnesses at the time of the murders and have them say, okay, yeah, that was him? Cranky Babushka, any ideas of what this guy was really into? I don't believe he just woke up one day wanting to murder 2 girls. Have you found anything about Rick online?
No, we haven't. He really doesn't have an online presence unless he just used some fake names. Yeah, there's nothing.
Mary isn't too impressed by me. That's fine. Brandy says, because striations in gun barrel are unique as a fingerprint. Christy says, Robert Ives was right. Using traditional methods, this could have been solved in less than a month. My point is they let tips balloon and didn't continually study what they had. Man Jay is asking, did Rick buy the gun new or used? I think they could look up a serial number, correct, in the history?
Yeah. They said he purchased it, I think, in the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2001. Cassidy says, I've always thought it looked like there was a gun in his jacket, regardless of the frame shadows. That sort of gun shape is always there. Well, people speculated, was it in his right hand in his pocket? Because obviously both hands were in his pockets. Yeah, some people seem to be happy with the evidence and some people are more concerned. So when he goes to trial, so you said he was charged with kidnapping and this murder.
Mm-hmm.
Can he be found guilty of kidnapping and not murder?
They're charging him with murder, so with murder plus felony. So I don't think they're separate.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's involved. It's a felony murder, so that's the charge. So even if he didn't kill them, if he did just make them go down the hill and kidnap them, and then someone came by and killed them, he would still have the same charge.
All right. Yaya says, my husband owned the exact firearm. He said there's no way to analyze a live round that's never gone down the chamber.
Right, so it has to have gone down the chamber somehow.
The ballistics match is not as solid as a bullet that was not fired. Oh, we have a special guest. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
And the gun was not the murder weapon. Hold on. Guest, new guest, you want to give a thumbs up if you want to come in? Are you ready? All right. Hi, Anya.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Tom. Hi, Fig. Sorry,
What's up,
Kevin's coming at some point, so
All right.
he might drop in later, but it's just me for now.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, what are your thoughts reading this?
Whew, yeah, it's been a day. I'm sure you guys were doing stuff when you got it. We were in the middle of recording an episode about, change of venue, so kind of dropped everything and got on this. It really seems like it raises more questions than answers anything. I guess the big thing for me is that they seem to be leaning very hard on the kidnapping angle, given that they're charging him basically with felony murder, kidnapping resulting in a death. So we're not really seeing any information on like what they think happened to the girls or like why this happened. It's just kind of, can we put him on the bridge, I guess? And can we put him, can we put his gun at the scene?
Did Kevin tell you what his thoughts are on this evidence possibly leading to a conviction, or does he not think it's good enough evidence at this point?
I think we don't know enough. We don't know enough about the physical evidence at this point, I think, to say. I think I'm a little more positive on it than he is. He's immediately like going into lawyer mode and basically saying, well, what if he was just in the woods with a gun? How, could the bullet have just, it basically,
but right between the two murder victims, I mean, like
right,
this is me on a jury. If I was on a jury right now, I would say he's guilty.
I think the thing is, I think I would too, because I think if it's connected with his gun, I think the thing that leapt out to us in the probable cause affidavit was the laboratory saying that their analysis was subjective. And like, the question is, how subjective? Is it like super subjective or just kind of like, you do need an expert to interpret? I think that's not necessarily a huge problem. I'd also be curious, are there any tests that they can do to like indicate how long a bullet might have been out there? You don't want to get into a situation where you could have him basically, you could have a guilty party arguing, well, you could put my bullet there, but you can't put me there. It's not a matter of thinking he's innocent or guilty. It's just a matter of making sure, you have a really solid case. I have a feeling though that they have a lot more that's not in this probable cause affidavit, just because like they don't have to put everything here. They can just, put what they need to get to a point. I'd be curious, like, what your listenership thinks of it. Like, are people generally like, this is pretty strong or like weak, or
It's definitely mixed from the comments that I'm seeing.
that's what we kind of got to. And I mean, like, for me, it's like, sort of doesn't matter. It's sort of like like, it's like, ta-da, here's, the first thing, but there's going to be probably more down the line. They don't have to put everything in this.
Well, I saw somebody online said that he admitted to bringing his gun and knives to the trails that day, but I didn't. We just read the entire thing. I don't remember him saying that. Do you know if he admitted to that?
No, I don't. I haven't heard that. And in fact, he basically, one thing that I thought was unusual, or maybe not unusual, I don't know. It's kind of like he basically doesn't have a story. Like like you would think he'd be like, well, my creepy friend borrowed it, or or oh yeah, I was messing around in there a few weeks beforehand, just shooting off some rounds. Oops. He just is basically like, I don't know, and that's kind of interesting. He doesn't have an excuse, I guess.
Speaking of creepy friends, you guys have been saying quite a while that you have been hearing that Tony Klein was the focus of the investigation. What are your thoughts at this point, whether Kegan and or Tony could be involved with this?
I would say that, I think the prosecutors and the police at the press conference sort of spoke about how feeling that maybe there's more than one person involved in this. That's not to say that there are multiple people at the crime scene committing the crime at the same time. I think what we're seeing though is discussions around, did more than one person know about this? And so I will say this: there's a difference between being interesting to investigators and having enough to roll on somebody in terms of a trial. So we'll be curious. It sounds like they're very much continuing to beat that drum, though. I mean, that was part of the reason the prosecutors basically like, I don't really nobody else is mentioned in the PC, but
Yeah.
interesting.
So you guys were the ones who broke the story that the Marathon gas station was searched by Kegan on the day of the murder. So it's like, if he's not involved, why was he even doing that?
Yeah, it seems a very odd thing, and I think the fact that Libby was in contact with a known online predator who was catfishing her, I don't think that should necessarily be cast aside or overlooked at this point. But I don't want to speculate too much about like what scenario comes to my mind, because I'm not an investigator well versed in sex crimes or anything like that. I just think that I think law enforcement and the authorities have been pretty clear that they are looking at the possibility that certain things are linked into this whole scenario.
So what, again, some people did not know about this, probably, that there was a request by the defense lawyers to move the trial at least 150 miles away in Indiana.
Yes.
Which,
you know where that would be? Because I looked at, I'm terrible at math. I was a terrible geometry student, but I went on this website. I basically drew a 150 circle radius, and that's basically just the southern tip of Indiana. Like, it's not, you can't go north, you can't go east, west. It would have to be like Evansville.
yeah, I mean, so do you know if they do move it 150 miles away, what would happen with the current judge?
Kevin would probably know. My best guess is that she would stay on it. That they kind of brought her in. I think they could do a separate request for a new judge, though. Although I imagine I think they'd have to have a reason for that, essentially.
So it did seem to be some discrepancy. I remember in my first video, I think I posted, there was a teenage girl who said her friend saw somebody in black, and now there's like this discrepancy between somebody in black or blue.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you my interpretation of that, which may be totally off base. But I think, how do I say this? Like, eyewitnesses are not great. Like, in general, like, I think if you, me, and Fig were hanging out, and we saw something, you might get different stories based on how much we were paying attention to that thing. And like, I can tell you, like, I have a terrible eye for cars. I kind of I just kind of think that you can't lean too much on eyewitness accounts in general, whether you're law enforcement or whether we, the public, are just interpreting things. I don't necessarily think we should assume accomplice. I don't think we should necessarily like throw that out entirely. I'm just saying that, you know, if you're kind of just scanning things and you see a dark figure, maybe you're like, oh, that guy's all in black. And if you look closer, it would be like dark jeans, you know, navy jacket. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Yeah, but it was said that there weren't any other older men seen on the trail that day. So it's like, it seems like he was the only person out there who could have done that.
Yeah, if you have with the felony murder rule, I guess, you know, it doesn't have to be that an accomplice is physically there if they're aware that a felony is, you know, if they're helping perpetuate a felony, in this case, kidnapping, and they're on the conspiracy, essentially, that they, you know, they could be considered an accomplice even if they're not physically there.
Yeah, so you guys, I think, also came out with saying that the way they went back to Richard was because ISP was frustrated with the state of the case. So
I don't think we said that.
I thought you guys said that recently.
No. I mean, we reported basically that.
There's some kind of background noise. Is that you, Fig?
Yeah, I'll mute it.
All right, thanks.
We basically came out with something that, like, investigators looked over this tip again recently, and that kind of made it rise, you know, more recently. We don't really have a lot of details around that, so we don't know if it was like any power play between ISP or Carroll County. I mean, certainly you could imagine there's jurisdictional friction here, but if somebody came out with that, it was somebody who has more details than we do.
Yeah, so Steph says they wanted it sealed because they said there was possibly someone else involved, not necessarily from this affidavit, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I don't understand. I mean, personally, I don't understand why the prosecutor felt the need to do this. I mean, the law and the hurdle he had to clear is pretty extreme, and the judge basically said you didn't clear it. I think most people would have assumed that, and I just kind of don't know why he expended the capital of, you know, kind of fighting it when possibly just releasing a, you know, an even more heavily redacted version earlier on might have taken some of the heat off.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just my assessment. I mean, I believe in, like, you know, the public should have information, but I could certainly understand in certain situations you wouldn't want that. So I didn't get the strategic move here because it just seemed like a losing battle. And as a prosecutor, you're kind of supposed to pick the winning battles.
So April says she thinks Rick has done this before. Who kills two in the middle of the day? And I said before that his DNA is now in the system. Do either of you know how long it would take to match up to other cases and maybe him to be charged with other cases that he's done in the past?
No, I don't know what that process would be.
Well, what I found, one of the most striking things was that he admitted to being out on the bridge before they even got there. Like, a woman saw him on the platform.
Yes, that struck me as particularly bizarre. I know there's been so much discussion about, like, where Bridge Guy came from or what, you know, people have done. And listen, I'm not geographically, like, I just, like, I'm hopeless with a map. So frankly, some of those discussions have just not really interested me because I care more about what the investigation is going now, not like necessarily all the little details there. But it seems like some of those discussions maybe could be good to revisit at this point because maybe that informs more of our understanding of the case now.
Well, it seemed to say that he was on a bench, which I always thought at that bench at the mirrors lot was the best place to be, seeing people who already come by. You can see who's arriving and who went back from Freedom Bridge.
Right.
Yeah, I'm rereading it now on page 7 where it says, Richard Allen told investigators he was on the trail from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. that day. Holy crap.
That's big. Yeah. Because here's the thing, like, I mean, we were kind of looking at it, Kevin and I were sort of debating it, like, okay, what would a defense attorney make of this? But the fact that, like, you know, and there was like, okay, what kind of car was it? What, you know, what was it? His car? Was it a purple PT Cruiser? What's going on? But the fact that he's actually putting himself there on the bridge is like, it's not really up for debate that he was there. He's saying that he was there, and he's even putting himself on the bridge for,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's crazy.
So Jeff wants us to stop speculating about guns and bullets. So we'll stop. We'll wait for some expert
An
to
expert, yeah.
inform us. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, I just put up our episode on this because we just like kind of talked it through, and I don't know how good of evidence that is, and like I don't want to be like, oh, they got him, if it's like basically the bite mark of gun evidence, as in like something that seems established but is actually less credible than you think. And then but I've shot three guns in my life. One was a fowling rifle from like colonial times, so I don't me and Kevin are not gun people. He's never shot a gun, so
Jenny says having gloves on, unless they were for warmth, makes it pretty clear it wasn't a spur of the moment murder. So yeah, I've always said, like, this guy going across a bridge has so many things in his jacket. It seems like something was premeditated. I don't know that we'll ever find out an exact motive, though.
I want to ask you guys this because like to me, and maybe I'm overthinking it. To me, like he in the affidavit, it spells out that bridge guy passed other groups of teenage girls on his way to the bridge to where he killed, where he abducted and then killed Abby and Libby. That sounds to me like he's targeting them because he has opportunities earlier. But am I overthinking this, or am I like, I don't know. I'd be curious on your takes on that.
Well, it said there was at least 3 girls headed towards Freedom Bridge, so I don't know if he encountered anybody further down. I mean, I'm always shocked he killed 2 girls, but I mean, 3 seems like, how are you gonna say, okay, I can get away with this? But the same thing could be said about 2.
Right.
And they said he seemed like he was on a mission too, how he was walking and didn't want to be seen by them. So it seems targeted.
And the witness said he had gray hair. It never mentioned reddish brown, which was in the wanted poster, which I don't know.
Yeah, I think this whole case is a really good lesson in why sketches and witness sightings are like not quite enough. I mean, if you don't get something out of that immediately and like 5 years pass, it's kind of like becomes meaningless because I mean, you have pictures of Richard Allen, who they are now saying is the murderer, standing in front of posters and nobody's saying, "Oh my God," because like, and in fairness, I don't think that's people being stupid. I just think that's people not being paranoid and like assuming the worst about their CVS manager locally,
Trish says, was Rick suffering from a mental illness that causes psychosis? You think? Well, the only thing we've heard, I mean, there was a rumor that he checked into a mental institution soon after the murders, but other people have said it may have been rehab for alcohol. Have you heard anything about that, Anya or Fig?
Personally, we've heard the rumor about the, some sort of check-in, but like it's so like it could be, if it's something that maybe could cause delusions or something, like someone to lash out violently, it kind of, it's hard to read too much into that. If it was for like, just depression, then that might, seem less significant, but we've not heard any confirmation, and we don't really expect that we'll get any because HIPAA protections essentially.
Well, I thought sometimes if somebody's guilty or accused of a crime, they can go ask either the psychiatrist or something like that. I'm not sure about that, though.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I know that would be, they might have to reach a bit of a hurdle to try anything around that. But I mean, if someone suddenly is developing like a drinking problem where they didn't have one before, that is interesting. And I say that with no judgment. I'm a recovering alcoholic.
So people are saying he's going to walk, have no clue what else they have, wait for the trial, and then say it. So did Kevin talk about how long he thinks this might be delayed? Because currently it's March 20th. If they're having more time for discovery and changing the venue, does he think it's going to maybe be 3 months, summer, fall?
We didn't talk about like a specific timeline. I think even the prosecutors covered this recently, that they really doubt it's going to be anytime soon. I would be shocked if it's anytime soon. I mean, I think these things can take years. I mean, like look at, to bring up Kegan Klein. I mean, he's not facing a homicide trial, but the defense in that has pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back. And if you have defense attorneys who are doing their job, it often behooves them to waive a speedy trial and have more time to gather evidence supporting their side of the story and supporting, you know, to basically, you know, cause reasonable doubt essentially. So I mean, if the defense basically treats it like, oh, let's go, then I think that would be really surprising because they're going to probably want time to figure all this out. And it's a huge complex case. And yeah.
Yeah, so I was interested to see, I guess the Hoosier Harvest Store is that building, that industrial building across from the CPS building. So they did have a video this entire time.
It, in your first video, Tom, you went over the different videos, right? Where different cameras could be. Was that one that you mentioned?
Yeah. Well, let's bring up Anthony Greeno. He had done a walk by the CPS building, I think after the murders at some point, maybe 2 years later. And he kind of zoomed in on that Hoosier Harvest Store and there was a video camera there, but I did not know if it was there in 2017, but apparently it was. So did the PCA say exactly when Richard arrived and he left? Fig, do you remember that?
I think he said himself 1:30 to 3:30. Yeah. He said he was on the trail from 1:30. This Richard Allen told investigators that he was on the trail from 1:30 to 3:30. Let me see.
Jackie, sorry, go ahead.
I'll keep looking and see if I can find anything else.
Jackie says if he kidnapped, he is guilty of the felony murder. Because I guess his kidnapping is assumed that it led to them dying.
Yeah, basically the way they've structured it is they don't have to prove that he physically killed Libby and Abby. That almost is irrelevant to the state's case. If they can prove that he kidnapped them, which doesn't necessarily mean he I think people assume kidnapping is Lindbergh baby, taking it out of the house and going far away. It can be literally just you force someone to go somewhere they don't want to go, basically. One point A to point B, it doesn't have to be a long distance. And if they get him on that, then that's felony murder because they're saying the felony resulted in the murder, essentially, if that makes sense.
So this will need all 12 jurors to say he is guilty. It needs to be unanimous, or what are these options here to get him to be convicted?
I don't know. Where's Kevin?
Kevin? No, he's not here. I'm pretty sure it has to be unanimous.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out soon, but I'm not sure.
I think they have to basically all say. I mean, this is why if there's a holdout, essentially, then a mistrial could be called. And that's why it is important, to go back to the change of venue. It is important that they get an untainted jury on this, and it's important that people who care a lot about the case and are very into the case do not try to sneak onto the jury, because things like that could really mess everything up, even if it's well intentioned, obviously.
So Robert says no surveillance video of Rick running down West 300 to his car, but I think I just read that he was captured on 300 walking back to the CPS building.
So at 3:57, I just found it. So the witness, I think, their vehicle was captured on that Harvest Store. So they could confirm that she saw him at that time. It doesn't state that he was captured on the video, but the witness's vehicle was at 3:57, and that's when she said that she saw him.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how she said he had muddy and bloody clothes. Was she driving by, and how can you really tell that there's blood on somebody's clothes? I don't know. I guess we'll find out more. Yeah. I guess these people are going to have to be witnesses on the witness stand at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I do support them redacting their names, because I want to say if people come and let's say a tabloid comes and say, hey, I'll give you $300 to tell your story about what you saw, then that could make that witness thrown out basically of the case. It's important that they kind of go to trial and don't that's happened in certain instances. That's where the media can actually mess things up. So, keeping them more private makes sense for their, for their personal protection, but also just because you don't want their testimony getting tainted before we even go to trial. Oh, thanks. So,
Liberty says, with all the circumstantial stuff around the Kleins, I'll be dumbfounded if they aren't involved at all.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about the negotiations that are currently going on with Kegan?
No, it's very mysterious. He has a hearing on December 22nd. So if that goes ahead as scheduled, we will be, going there and seeing, is there any indication that something's happening on that front, or is it still kind of Kegan telling his little stories?
Right. And I'll bring this up. A few months ago, I text Kevin and Anya and I'm like, hey, these charges, are they going to get dropped? And they told me way before anything came up about his charges getting dropped, like, yep, expect some charges to be dropped. That's very typical for this type of case. So sure enough, a few months later, when they were actually dropped, those 5 charges dropped. I don't want to speak for you, Anya, but you weren't surprised at all, were you?
No, we're soothsayers. No, not really. We did have a good sense that that was going to happen, and it didn't. And it was really funny. It was not funny, but it was ironic. It's probably not ironic either, but you know what I mean. Like that week, there was stuff about Richard Allen then, so everybody was understandably like, "Oh my goodness, he rolled on him," and we were like, "No, I mean, like it looked
Right.
like that, but that was going to happen."
Because the way is, if it's for CSAM, apparently they cannot determine the exact age of some of these victims. So sometimes they have to drop certain charges if they don't know that they are in fact minors in the photos
Yeah.
or videos.
Exactly. If they can't identify the person, the victim of the CSAM, they can't, basically say this person is definitely under 18. And then if they can't get a doctor to sign off on that, essentially they have to drop it. And that's not. It doesn't mean it's a weak case. It just means that a prosecutor cannot, in good faith, basically try to, prosecute somebody for a crime that it's not even clear a crime was committed.
So Run the World says, so he did not sexually assault them, right? Wouldn't they have DNA? I don't know about this yet.
I don't know either. I can say that I can imagine, some form of sexual assault happening that does not necessarily result in DNA, but um we've I don't Kevin and I have not really heard either way much about that.
Yeah, I just heard rumors, of course, but my understanding, even with the rumors, is that there was no traditional sexual assault, as you would think.
Shafir says, wasn't there something about a footprint as well? And if he still has the jacket, maybe they can still get some blood speck or something from the jacket or car. Yeah, I'm sure they've started testing on that, but I don't know how long it's going to take or if that's going to be revealed at the trial.
Yeah, it's a good thought. I don't know if we've heard about a footprint necessarily, but I certainly don't think we've heard everything, so that's certainly possible.
Yeah, I think with the footprints is part of the confusion if there was multiple people there and them trying to determine if the footprints were from searchers, from people who found the girls, or was it from an accomplice or what. So I know there was footprints around, but it was very confusing.
Makes sense.
Karen says that Rick's wife admitted that he had guns and knives at home, but I mean, I don't know how rare that is. But obviously, the same type of gun, which would have the same bullet found between 2 victims' bodies, is pretty good evidence, in my mind, at least. Yeah, I'm curious about this. JM says, so they have surveillance of his car from across CPS, but no video showing him getting in or out of his car. Do you guys know if it was screenshots from a surveillance camera or actual video constantly going?
I can't say we do. Yeah, I don't know the nature of it, but it does seem interesting that they might have a piece of it, but not like because you would think that if it was like he was parked in view, then you'd see him leaving if there was a continuous shot.
High functioning psychopath says the most important, these are my subscribers, the most important piece is his admission about being there on the same day. The unfired round holds more weight with the admission. Yeah, but it's like with all this stuff, who else could it be? I mean, that's my viewpoint.
I concur with high functioning psychopath. I think the fact that he placed himself there is pretty damning, and I think that's going to be a hurdle for defense to kind of get over. Of like, okay, he was there, but maybe something else happened. But the problem is, and this is what the judge is going to direct the jury to do. It's like, you have to really, it's the state's burden to really prove beyond reasonable doubt that he specifically kidnapped them. One thing I noticed is a lot of the witness statement. I need to go back over them with a fine tooth comb, but a lot of the witness statements seem to be like, I didn't really see his face, or like he was, covering something, something was covering his mouth. So that it almost sounded like a lot of people described someone who kind of looked like him, but not necessarily like, oh, definitely Richard Allen.
Andrew, thank you. We will be floored by the evidence the state reveals at trial. Tom, Fig, and MS here. Wow, truly a great day. Yeah, I mean, finally we get to find at least some evidence after all this time.
Do you guys have any thoughts? I was curious, like, do you have any thoughts about like why they were so cagey about releasing this, given that it doesn't directly mention anybody else, or like, I don't know. I'm a reporter, so I'm always going to be like, release it, give us the information. Although I am understanding in certain instances that they can't. But in this, I'm like, the prosecutor really went all out saying, that we can't release it. Here are the, here signed affidavit saying why. And the judge basically like kind of did what most people who cover crime a lot expected her to do, which is to be like, no, we need, like, this isn't how it goes. So I don't know. I'm just curious because I'm biased in favor of releasing information, and I'm curious if you guys had any perspectives on that.
Well, I just read it for the first time on air, so was kind of going through it and things were popping into my mind. So I haven't fully digested it yet, but nothing that I remember reading could maybe influence somebody else who's involved to act in a bad way. I don't know. Fig, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that was always hard to make sense for me, is if it did mention someone else in there, I mean, and they were truly involved, the second Richard Allen was arrested and his face was all over the news, I think that would trigger them to take off or hide evidence or do whatever they're going to do. They wouldn't need for this probable cause affidavit to come out. So that's one that I thought that's kind of strange. It's not really a good excuse that's going to hold up well. And then the witnesses, that makes sense. Redact the witnesses' names. I think the judge probably would have done that anyways, or requested that. So the only thing I could think of, which is speculating, is trying to buy time. I don't know, trying to buy time for what, because the defense, they were already able to see it. So it's not like they were able to keep it from the defense attorneys, and I'm guessing Richard Allen saw it as well. So I don't know why they were buying time or what they were buying time for, but that's the only thing I could think of.
Well, some people said they're really embarrassed that it took 5.5 years to, like, Tom, thank you, Tom. Do you think they knew about Rick since the beginning without enough evidence to convict? And the rumors that he talked to a conservation officer, do you guys have any idea how that transpired, how he got in contact with a conservation officer and said, I was at the trail that day?
I don't know if I have any details on that specific interaction or how that looked. I know some have said he came forward. That's what we heard. I know some have wondered, well, maybe someone went to him because he was seen. I don't know if we have like the whole narrative on that. I can say that my gut instinct, Tom N, and this is just coming from me, but this is kind of like from talking to a lot of people about this. I don't think that RA was on, like, I don't think this was like a long game. I don't think this was like they were, we're going to wait and bide our time. I get the sense that this was kind of like, I don't know. I just get the sense it was kind of sudden, sort of just kind of came out of nowhere for everybody. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that again, like that's just my gut instinct. So take that with a huge grain of salt.
Hot Mess Jess says, can we talk about the fact that a PT Cruiser, a 2006 Ford Focus, and a smart car look nothing alike? Like Anya said, you maybe can't really totally go by witness testimony, but I don't know.
Yeah, we were looking at, I'm not a car person, like I don't know my SUVs from my sedans, but like when I was looking at that, purple's my favorite color. So like I noticed purple cars, like and it's not like this happened at nighttime. This was during the afternoon. So that's a pretty big discrepancy in my opinion. But it almost, again, like we said this in our episode, like that is kind of troubling. But then you have him literally putting himself on the bridge. So it's like, I'm almost curious about like why they included that, because it just seems to kind of like confuse things. I don't know.
What is your latest episode about, Anya?
Oh, we just talked about the affidavit. We were literally talking like, oh, change of venue. Maybe it's going to be in Evansville. And then suddenly we're like, oh no.
Yeah,
Judy says the jacket Rick had on at the bridge looks just like the one he had on while sitting in the car with on his wife's Facebook video.
Wow.
The Violet Bunny says the wife knows something, of course, she's covering for him. And people are wondering if that is the other person that they're talking about, is that maybe she knew that all of this added up and she did not turn him in.
I don't know if we can assume that necessarily. I mean, anything's possible. I'm not discounting that entirely. I just think that, people can kind of, fool their spouse into all sorts of things. And, it's not a nice thought, but I don't necessarily think that's to be like criminal culpability there necessarily. We just don't know yet. I think I would imagine if police felt she were involved, then charges would come down as like an accessory or something. But I don't get that sense at this point.
Sanger Texas says, what in the world is the motive? Yeah, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, that's one thing that's not in this at all. You don't get anything about that. Or like,
and I don't know that it's ever going to be revealed. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's talking at this point.
Yeah. And like, what motive could there be to kill two little girls? It's like, but yeah.
I was saying at the beginning of this, it's like, why did he said he was looking at fish, but it's like, I don't know if he said to them, oh, I was out exercising, but he only lives 1.5 miles away. Why would he drive his car to CPS and apparently park in an odd way?
Yeah, and fishing with no fishing pole, you're just looking at them. You don't have a fishing pole at all. You're just observing.
I'd be curious to know how often he went there previously. What is his wife saying about how frequently he went there?
Yeah, the fish thing struck me as odd, but I'm not a fisher woman. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. But I mean, it's a really high bridge. I was like, do you really get a great view of the fish when you could go below and see them up close?
Yeah, because that lower trail apparently goes down to the river or the creek. Sorry.
That's right. I've done that. We've walked that, the lower trail, because I'm not going up on that bridge. That's a terrifying structure.
And they are finally fixing that bridge. People are speculating, is it because the jury might actually walk on it? I don't know if that's true or not, but for people who do not know about that, I know they put aside, I think, $1.2 million for the entire, I don't know if it's the Deer Creek Trail. It wasn't just for the bridge, but I did see a picture or two that they are finally fixing that bridge.
Right. And
Cindy says he's wearing the same clothes. Yeah, it's like a lot of things really add up to this being Rick. Does Anya still buy the red Jeep thing, and did they get their money back?
Money?
Well, I don't know what that means.
Kegan kept on asking us for like $400, $300, and we were like, no.
Yeah, I said that I have seen these texts with, I think the same person sent them to both of you guys, that Kegan said he and his dad took his dad's red Jeep to Delphi the day of the murder. So I've seen the same thing that you guys have seen, that Kegan is the one who said they took his dad's red Jeep to Delphi the day of the murders, which, like I said, I have no clue why he might be lying about that, but
it's an odd thing to lie about. I would say, yeah, I mean, he definitely told that to police. Whether or not that happened is kind of, Kegan Klein's not very reputable. Hi, Kevin. If anyone has any lawyer questions.
There's 1,000 people watching you walk in the door, Kevin.
I was pretty disturbed driving home a moment ago because I was hearing Anya talk about how easy it is for one spouse to fool another.
Oh.
My cunning plan is revealed.
So Kevin, I was asking before, since this change of trial location. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. 150 miles away. The trial is currently scheduled for March 20th. How long do you think this might be pushed out?
When we spoke with people who worked at the court, they said they imagined they would be working on this case for a year or two.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I should have said that.
Yeah, I'd mentioned that there was another case. I'm sure you guys are aware of Amanda Blackburn, who got killed.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
we
within a
probably-
few weeks, they found the 3 guys who did it. The one guy finally just got sentenced like 7 years later. So if
Yeah, we
people
actually
think,
went to that sentencing hearing.
We went to that sentencing hearing. It was very
yeah,
sad.
Larry Joe Taylor, I've been looking into that for a long time. So if people think this is going to be resolved anytime soon, especially with an appeal, if he's found guilty, I mean, this could be quite a few years. It's going to be a while.
Yeah, like in a TV show, sometimes like the arrest is kind of like the culmination of everything, but it's really just the beginning for this case, we think.
So Squirrel makes a good point. He said he was there 2 hours on a 1-mile hike, fish watching. Come on.
The fish watching is pretty odd. I didn't even really think about that when we were doing our episode or reading it, but I don't know. Maybe if people who are fishermen, if they, if you watch fish in creeks or in Deer Creek, we'd be interested to know.
All right. I have a crazy sense of humor. So people are concerned about your bookcase falling over, you guys.
I know.
Yes.
Kevin's dad yelled at us because he was like, that's not structurally sound. Some people thought it was like kind of going for an Alice in Wonderland theme, but it's just our poor decisions.
All right.
Yeah, we need to take care of that.
It's awful.
It's okay.
Not only do we have it like prominently displayed anytime we go on
it's
camera.
just a nightmare.
Bad.
You guys should have used that murder sheet background I sent to you.
Yes.
Yes. We don't know how.
I'll
We're not
teach
very
you.
smart.
Right. Lynn says, sounds like Richard told him everything, the conservation officer. Yeah, I was there, but I didn't see the girls. Yeah, it's my gun, but I wasn't there. Yeah, I was at the same time they were killed, but I didn't do it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how this all adds up to him, but I guess they can't put him at the murder scene other than that gun shell casing at this point.
I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts on like, why do you think if he came forward in 2017, like what happened that we're only circling back to him right now in 2022, seemingly on the surface? Obviously, a lot of things happen behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Well, I don't know what part of this evidence came out in 2022 when they looked at him again and what was actually there in 2017, but it seems like all of these witnesses, the video from across CPS, it's like he was the only older guy out on the trail wearing the same clothes. He's approximately the same height as the witness who walked right by him. I'm really in shock that it's taken this long. How about you, Fig?
Yeah, I'm in shock. What made them say, okay, yeah, we're going to look away from this guy now? Like, yeah, what was convincing? Because in those notes, nothing sound convincing, the investigation notes. So one thing I could think of is maybe he threw off investigators by saying that, pretending to be one of the witnesses. Maybe, I know it didn't mention this in there, but they don't put everything in these type of documents. That maybe it's like, oh yeah, I saw a younger guy too with curly hair, or totally speculating. But did he fool them somehow by saying, oh yeah, I saw a hitchhiker or someone too, but I wasn't over there? I don't know. Did he throw them off somehow? Because at face value, it seems like it's a slam dunk.
So Libcom says they don't have to prove that anyway. Premeditated doesn't just mean planning. And Kevin, before I asked Fig, if he's charged with kidnapping and murder, is it possible that he can be convicted of just kidnapping and not murder?
In theory, at this point, I don't believe he's been charged with kidnapping, has he? I know they said he committed the murder while in the act of kidnapping, but has he been charged with kidnapping as well?
I think it's just one count. Let me pull it up. I'm gonna get on my case.
Fig, I thought you said you had something where it says he's charged with kidnapping.
Yeah, I'll read the charging document that said, okay, in the county of Carroll, the state of Indiana, Richard M. Allen did kill another human being, to wit, victim 1, while committing or attempting to commit kidnapping of victim 1.
So it says he committed basically felony murder. So typically in a situation like that, you would charge the person with the murder, and you'd also separately charge them with the underlying felony. But if you go on my case, it just has him listed with 2 charges of murder.
Yeah. And would that be double jeopardy if you charged him with kidnapping on top of this?
Not necessarily. You can do lesser included charges at the same time.
Okay. And like one thing I'd be curious about, like you'd think that they would be like piling on charges. Like why not criminal confinement? You know what I mean? Like it's weird to me that they just have 2 felony murders with the underlying felony being kidnapping.
But don't they still have time to add more charges before his trial starts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely do. But it's interesting that they don't feel like they want to do that right now.
So I have a question. Might be a dumb question. So say, Kevin, this might be best for you. So say they go to court, they go to trial, they convict Richard Allen, but then later on they find out that someone else was involved somehow. They could still go after that person, right? It's not like,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
I asked that like a week ago. Like I was like asked the same exact question. Like, is this one or done, or could we keep going if more evidence arises?
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out why they're buying themselves time is what it seems like. And like, well, I think they could still charge someone later on. It's not like they have to get everyone right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about this I don't understand the thinking of the prosecutor. Hopefully at some point that will become more clear.
Jason says motive isn't 100% necessary for a conviction, but it sure is a nice to have. Yeah, Kevin, we were wondering, to convict Rick of a crime, do all 12 jurors need to say he's guilty? Does it need to be unanimous?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you do a bench trial. Sometimes the defense attorneys feel that it's in their best interest not to face a jury, but to rather have the judge alone decide innocence or guilt. In that case, jury doesn't come into it at all.
Well, does Rick have any say in that?
Yeah, it'd be up to him and his attorneys.
Okay. So what if 11 people say he's guilty and 1 person says he's not? What happens then? He'll never be charged?
Mistrial.
That would be a mistrial. That'd be a hung jury, and then it could be retried if the prosecutor wants to.
Sometimes you have people retried again and again in a situation where that happens.
Well, so then what's double jeopardy? Sorry, I'm not really familiar with this stuff.
That would be if there's an acquittal, or like let's say somebody gets acquitted for a murder, and then this has happened before, for like photographic evidence that they did the crime arises. They cannot be recharged. They can be charged with perjury for lying if they lied on the stand that they didn't do it. But there's actually a famous case, I don't remember the name of it, but that exact scenario happened. A man was put on trial for a woman's murder. He was acquitted, and basically photographic evidence of him murdering her came up later, and there was nothing that could be done. He was sent to jail for perjury, but you don't get a very long sentence for that.
Shelley says he may have had pictures of the crime at his house or on his computer. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Obviously, Robert Ives at some point said the crime scene it was staged or something where it might seem like someone would want to photograph or videotape it, but we have not seen any evidence of that.
We haven't seen any evidence of that. When you go back to the Ron Logan search warrant, they made it clear in there that they had some reason, which they didn't specify, but they had some reason to think there might be photographic or video evidence of the crime because they were looking for that on his computers.
Yeah, and they brought in an FBI agent who wrote that, Nicole Robertson, right away, and she does a lot of crimes against children of that nature. So they were looking at that early on for some reason.
So Gen X Rando says, I doubt Rick targeted them. I suspect they somehow bruised his ego and he snapped. Yeah, but why was he at the trails with a gun and knives and stuff with his head covered? People said it was an unseasonably warm day. It was in the low 40s, but people in Indiana said that's a good day for February. So it seems like he was there to do something. So I understand what you say, Gen X Rando, but why was he there in the first place?
Yeah, and he didn't sound angry on the guys down the hill. It sounded almost calm and calculated. It wasn't like down the hill screaming at them out of anger.
Yeah, but it seemed like pretty forceful. I'd be interested to hear exactly what happened in this entire 43-second video. And I guess they said that as soon as they started walking down the hill, I guess Libby somehow ended the 43-second video.
Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, certainly, the scenario that Gen X Rando outlines is certainly possible. But I think we at this point lean towards a targeted killing because just some of the stuff it's kind of hard to explain in terms of just a coincidental person decides to fly into a rage and kill 2 girls.
Jeffrey says, I feel the only way Rick would have known the girls were there would be through the Klein connection, those accounts with direct communication. Seems like the murders he committed alone, but maybe set up. I talked about this previously in Kegan's August 2020 interview. The police said at 8 a.m. the morning of the murders, 2 devices in the Klein's home were logging in and out of the Anthony Shots device. And people have speculated for a long time, was Kegan sharing the Anthony Shots login with anybody else? But I've never seen any evidence saying it showed up at anybody else's house. Obviously, the police said, oh, Kegan, we know you were on Country Club Road in Peru the afternoon of the murders. So I just have never seen any sharing of the Anthony Shots account.
Yeah, not that we've heard about.
I think Jeffrey brings up an interesting point because the prosecutors made it clear that they think they have evidence of other actors being involved in this crime. But when you look at the probable cause affidavit, they don't give us any of that evidence. They talk about the only person seen there who matches this description is Richard Allen. No one saw anyone but Richard Allen. No one even saw Richard Allen after a certain time. He walked to the car by himself, allegedly, and so on. So if there are other people involved, how are they involved?
The Violet Bunny says, for all we know, it was an attempted sexual assault and they fought back or ran and he killed them to cover up. Yeah, that's a decent motive. But it seems odd, like I was saying before, killing 2 girls, like how are you really going to think that you could just sexually assault 2 girls and then they won't come into the CVS in a few weeks and identify you? It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, if it is really Richard Allen and he is guilty of what he is accused of, I mean, he's a, sort of a public figure in that, you might run into him in town. He's not like working in a closed off space. He's working in front of the public.
JM says it's pretty dumb that Rick kept the gun and possibly the blue jacket. If he kept the blue jacket, he obviously took it home to clean it, or maybe he rinsed it off at the car wash, or I don't know if there's a car wash in February in Indiana, but have you guys heard about any of this other evidence that was taken from his house that was not mentioned in the thing that was released today, the PCA?
Not really, beyond just kind of what you see in media reports.
All we'd heard about was the bullet.
Yeah, we heard about the bullet. We did not report on it.
Fig did.
I didn't report on it.
That's where I heard it from you.
Nice.
I reported to you.
It was on your live stream, wasn't it?
Oh, was it? I don't know. It was early in
We'll
the
have
morning.
to go back and check the evidence better than I.
Oh no.
Sorry.
You got
It's
some
interesting. They try
deleting
to-
to do.
They try to keep a lid on all this stuff, but the big information was the bullet. We heard about it. Fig heard about it.
Yeah.
Tom heard about it. It was certainly already going around.
It was going around, and at one point we were kind of like, should we just report on it? But we just sort of like, I don't know. They can't control. I mean, like, there's going to be information circulating no matter what. That's just the nature of any high-profile case. So I think they should probably stop trying to control everything and try to make sure that good information, correct information is getting out there, and focus their energy on that rather than trying to stifle all discussion, because that's just, not going to happen.
Lee worked at Valley Oaks Hospital in Delphi at the time and does not remember ever seeing Rick. So thank you for sharing that.
I said we'd heard the rumor about him seeking mental health care.
Oh yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of mental institution in that Delphi area that he could have gone to, or is it just rehab for alcohol stuff places?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think we've heard names thrown around, but we've not really looked too closely into that, just because we kind of have been expecting that if we look into it, we'll just hit up against HIPAA things and people being like, go away.
Ari wonders what the missing piece is that let law enforcement do that search warrant on his house. Do you guys know?
No,
No, not at all.
Tell
that's
us.
a great question.
Where would that information be? What kind of law enforcement document would that be? And is that going to be released at a
Would
certain
that
point?
be a separate probable cause evidence?
That would be, first of all, we're all assuming, and it's a fair assumption, but I want to make it clear it is an assumption. We're assuming that Rick Allen did not consent to the search of his house himself, because it's possible they went to him and said, "Can we search your house?" And he said yes. But if he didn't say yes, there would have to be a search warrant issued, and for a search warrant, that means somebody in law enforcement has to go and write up a document saying, we have probable cause to think there's specific evidence of a crime that's currently being somewhere inside this house. It's basically, we saw one of those that we released earlier this year in the Ron Logan thing.
Could they just could it be like basically a version of this, except that it's mentioning specifically like they told us there was a gun in the house, or like and we want to check if it's the same gun that matches the bullet at the scene.
The problem is in Delphi and in a lot of Indiana towns, I'm sure there's a lot of people who own guns.
Oh yeah.
So just saying, oh, there was a bullet found, this guy has a gun, let's let us go look at it. That's not enough.
If he gave them the model, it's a .40 caliber. Would that be a little bit more specific?
Again, there's a lot of guns in Indiana.
Yeah.
Well, somebody above said, why could they, if they knew the bullet was from a .40 caliber, how could they not have searched serial numbers or guns in Delphi to see who in that town owned that type of gun? I don't know if that's possible or not, but somebody mentioned that.
Interesting point.
We need to talk to some gun people. We all need to talk to some gun people who might be able to help us out here. Because
I have some guy, Dr. Gunsmith, who usually stays up in the middle of the night in Europe to watch my live chats, but I don't think he's on right now. Mark wants to know, will we find out any more anytime soon? So if Kevin, you're saying this might take a few years, do you think we will find out any more evidence before now and the trial?
I think it's possible there might be more evidence discussed at the bail hearing in February.
Yeah, the defense will basically be having to make a case of he should be let out on his own recognizance or at a very low bail, and the prosecution will have to kind of say, well, here's some more stuff against him, here's why he shouldn't be released. Is that basically the Yeah.
Kevin, what do you think about this 3 months between now and his bail hearing? Is that kind of long?
That's kind of long. It surprised me, especially since they were making the case that the probable cause warrant is so weak that he shouldn't be in there at all. So it seemed a little bit surprising to me they were willing to wait 3 months.
Basically, at the hearing, it was basically everyone being like, the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense attorneys were kind of like, well, I have another murder trial this time, and like they're almost trying to, make sure their calendars were all in sync for it, and it had an almost like weirdly casual vibe to it of like, can you do early February? Yeah, sure, fine. So it didn't seem like it was treated with a ton of urgency, which is kind of weird. If they're claiming he's actually innocent of this crime, and to have an innocent man languishing in, some mysterious Department of Corrections facility for 3 months, I mean, that's kind of traumatic. So I thought it was odd that didn't really match what they were saying in the media, I guess is what I'm saying.
Big Fish, Small Pond says, this is the probable cause for arrest or the search of his property?
The arrest.
So for the search of his property, it was mentioned that they were like all over his property and even in the backyard. So Kevin, they would need to have specifically say, we think this is the reason why we need to search the entire property instead of just his car inside. I mean, I don't know what was off limits because apparently they were all over his house and property.
Yeah, you have to be very specific about what exactly you're looking for and where you think you might find it. You don't just get a blank check to go wandering around.
So Stephanie asked, what vehicles were captured near the CPS building then? So apparently, I guess the Hoosier Harvest Store is across from CPS, and I don't know how good of quality. I mean, we've all seen, especially with Bridge Guy and every video, it's like, it's not always perfect. So I guess there was 3 different witnesses saying 3 different types of cars. So I'm not sure exactly which car was showing up, but it seemed to be somewhat similar to his 2 cars that he owned. Good question, Salty Beach. Where are all the tentacles that Doug Carter referenced?
Doug Carter has a very evocative way of speaking, and and it's often very dramatic and interesting. And I'm not, I'm not saying that he's wrong. I think he really intrigues people with things he says sometimes. So, I mean, they're going to have to, if they want other tentacles to go on trial, they're going to have to prove it, and they're going to have to, gather evidence against said tentacles. But as Kevin mentioned, like, if they don't have that by the time Alan goes on trial, they're just going to have to run with Alan and see if anything happens later, I guess.
Bud thinks Rick's wife tipped him in. That's why she has not been seen. I don't know if I agree with that, because I don't know. It seems like they had evidence that they just went back to look at him and re-interview him. I don't know.
Yeah, we heard a lot of rumors that she tipped him, but when that's not true. She did not tip him. In fact, the defense attorneys have been talking about how she believes in him and is going to stick with him. And some reporters saw her at the hearing kind of mouthing, "I love you" to him as he was led away.
Wait, you guys were at the hearing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we may have been sitting next to his family without realizing it. So
the rumor was that there was 2 older women. People speculated it was his mom and his sister. Do you think you saw Kathy, his wife, there?
I don't know. I know some reporters were saying she was there. I didn't see her. I think I would have recognized
There's
her.
nowhere to really hide going in out of that, other than the way he came in. Could his wife have snuck in without reporters seeing her?
I mean, again, I heard from some reporters that they saw her, but I guess for me, like, I was very tired at that time. Like, we woke up at like 5 a.m. So I feel like I was probably not in like my super perceptive mode. I mostly had my eyes on Rick Allen, you know what I mean? 'Cause he's like being led in and out, and he, was having these conversations with his attorney. But yeah, basically what the attorneys have said publicly is that she's standing by him and believes in him. So I don't think she tipped them. I think she's sticking with him for now, actually, is what we're hearing. And that's what we heard behind the scenes, that basically nobody tipped police off on this guy, that he came forward, and then for some reason, for whatever reason that's not super clear right now, he came back into things in 2022. He came back into the discussion. Is that basically it?
Basically, someone was reviewing old tips or old bits of evidence, and they came across this and said, "Hey, we should take another look at it."
Which is much less dramatic than someone tipping their spouse, but that's what seems to have happened here.
So Marge says Rick is going to death row. Kevin, can you explain what the process would be if he's going to get the death penalty, and how is that going to change from this felony murder charge?
Well, he could get the death penalty for the felony murder if he's found guilty. The big question is he going to be found guilty? We assume that there's going to be a lot more evidence than what is in this probable cause affidavit. Frankly, I thought what was in the probable cause affidavit was a bit weak. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
We imagine that there will probably be a lot more that's not in the probable cause, though.
Yes.
But at this point, we don't really know what that is.
So Jim said I dissed Greeno. Yes, Greeno did do some helpful videos. So we love everybody.
No drama.
Mike Stowe says, sounds like law enforcement doesn't know what to make of the other description that did not match Alan. I guess somebody wearing black. At the same time, they don't want to give the defense an out, so they theorize an additional perp.
I don't think they're necessarily just doing it to like give an excuse, or like, person B, that must have been the guy in black. I don't think they're trying to explain around the guy in black. I just think eyewitness testimony is highly flawed, and we all pay a lot less attention than we think.
And we saw that in the description of the car. Was it a purple PT Cruiser? Was it a gray Ford? And I think I heard you mentioning, as I was driving, somebody says they saw somebody walking down the street with blood and mud on them. And I'm not sure if I'm driving on a busy road and I see somebody walking, I'm going to be able to identify, oh, that's mud, or that's blood, or that's ketchup, or whatever. So some of these statements from the witnesses may be difficult to reconcile.
Cassidy says she believes the FBI defines kidnapping as moving someone against their will by more than 20 feet. Do you guys have any clarification on kidnapping?
That sounds right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I had thought it's taking them from pretty far from one location to another, but obviously by him saying go down the hill, it's taking them somewhere where they do not want to be going.
Yeah.
Sudano says they had a video of a Ford Focus, but couldn't search ISP registration for Ford Focus that's registered 2 miles away. I don't think they knew from the video across the street that it was definitely a Ford Focus. I think after the fact, it seems like they had these 3 different descriptions of a darker type, smaller car. And then they later, I guess maybe not until October or September 2022, looked at which cars the Allens had at that time, and a Ford Focus that's dark would maybe match what was there. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are talking about Rick possibly having a mental illness or paranoid schizophrenia. I don't think anybody who worked with him at CVS or Walmart really mentioned anything where he was that abnormal. I mean, I saw something like where he had a bad temper sometimes, but have you guys seen anything?
No, most people we talked to basically kind of said the same thing. Everyone said he was nice, normal. They weren't really aware of any issues. And yeah, I mean, we've heard the rumors about the mental health check-in, but that, not to stigmatize anybody with mental illness, obviously doesn't mean that you're going to be violent and do horrible things to children. We don't really know. I think without like having more official confirmation on that, we wouldn't even really want to speculate because yeah.
Yeah, USA Libertarian Doug Carter said nobody saw BG. I wasn't sure if that was Kim Riley, who was once a spokesperson for ISP. I remember one of those 2 guys saying, we've accounted for everybody on the trails that day except for the guy in the video. And it's like, well, apparently you did, but I just don't know how this timeline all played out.
I think this is a lesson. I think this is going to be could be a textbook chapter in crisis communications and how things can lead to confusion. When you're in a law enforcement role, and it's a high profile crime, people are going to be hanging on to your every word. And I think it's important for future agencies to possibly like recognize that a little bit more early on. Otherwise things can be confusing.
Yeah, and I think in that one, it was more during the context of the question he was asked, made it seem like they asked during, did anyone witness the murders themselves?
So, I mean, and it's like, did anyone see BG? Obviously, Libby and Abby did. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
Yeah.
It's very vague.
So a change of venue would not change prosecution. The prosecutor would it, Kevin?
No.
Yeah. He would stay on, although I believe they would also, at least he would have the option to take on whoever the local prosecutor is and like get some help from that team, is what I read in the Indiana code today, I believe.
And how much help can he get from other prosecutors in Indiana who have more experience with murder cases or death penalty cases?
He can get all the help he needs. Earlier this summer, Doug Carter was offering the help of Lake County prosecutors to Miami County in their prosecution of Kegan Klein. Basically, you can get as much help as you want. You can even ask for a special prosecutor to be appointed. We were talking with somebody today who was reminiscing about the Mike Tyson case here in Indianapolis about 30 years ago. In that case, the county prosecutor had a special prosecutor appointed. Yeah. And unfortunately, we need to head out here.
We do need to bounce. This was delightful,
well, I
though.
appreciate you guys joining.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great to see you and Fig. And I think your audience, as usual, asks very intelligent, well thought out questions. And I hope we were able to answer some.
Well, I ignore the ones that aren't intelligent. Okay.
All right. It was nice seeing you guys. And I have to take off too.
All right.
We're abandoning time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Good luck.
Right, bye. Thanks. Bye, Fig. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Adam Glambert said he'll come on though if you need.
Oh my gosh.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining.
Everyone.
Bye. I've been going 2 hours. Do you guys want me to still keep going? I think we've talked about a lot of stuff. All right. I just jumped down to the bottom of comments. Hold on. Yeah, I think that I think that's a rumor. Becky Patty has said her family is not related to prosecutor Nick. That seems to be going around a lot, but she said it's not true. Keep going. Oh God. Yeah, I was gonna have people join, but there's a lot of people who might be trolls. Oh God. So I'll keep going through comments to see if there's anything we have not talked about, but I don't know. Yeah, JM, it's like sounds like they looked into everything except the guy matching the description who admitted to being there. Ridiculous. Like I said previously, I don't know if there was too many cooks in the kitchen. They had FBI, Indiana State Police, Carroll County Sheriff, and Delphi local police at the beginning. There might have just been too many tips. I just don't understand how this happened, to be honest. Yeah, I think that was Fig's microphone was maybe a little bit too loud. I won't say this out loud, but sorry, Trish. Legal question. Do you think YouTubers can interview potential witnesses in a criminal case? Is it ethical? Well, I would hope that the potential witnesses wait until after the trial to be saying stuff. Taka Boom says from that height, which I think is 63 feet from Monon High Bridge down to Deer Creek, on a sunny day, you can see large catfish and bass, but like what, he brought his handgun there to like shoot from 63 feet away? I know some people say it's kind of weak evidence, but I was really concerned when the defense was saying it was weak. But I mean, this is a lot of stuff that adds up. And it's like, if it's not Rick, who else could it be? Jason wonders, is law enforcement secrecy, particularly in the last month, due to embarrassment over missing the obvious tip early on? I can definitely see that would be embarrassing, but how long would they think they could delay the public finding out about it? Ivan says redirecting them is kidnapping. Yes, there's so many comments. I'm really sorry that I missed hundreds of them. Hi, Goat Dog. The only place I saw Rick's mental health mentioned was on 4chan. What are you doing on 4chan? Prior to him being arrested, someone said something like, even though he is slow, Richard did it. There's been speculation that that Richard was either a typo of the person or just like a nickname of a random older white guy. Boo. Yeah, so cat named Dog. Too bad a hunter didn't have a trail camera close by. Well, there's been rumors that there were trail cameras, but they were not working, and people have speculated, did somebody, possibly Rick, know he was going to be there that day and somehow disable them? But I don't know exactly how trail cams work, but you would think if somebody was approaching a trail cam to disable it, that it would show up. I don't know if they have to, I guess it's not remote viewing of the multimedia that's on those. You have to actually retrieve the trail camera. I'm sure there's some hunters here who might know. Oh my gosh. Lethal Bacon, you can't quit now. You have another 6 hours to do. How long have I been going? 2 hours? We'll see. Does anybody want to join? I'm really scared to let people come on. All right, hold on. Let's see. Where am I here? Sorry. I just dropped the link if you want to join, but you're going to have to verify your face on video, but then you can just be on audio when I bring you on. Hold on. There's way too many comments. Jeffrey says, keep in mind, transcripts describe the largest investigation scene in the state. It's not a crazy stretch to believe 3 to 5 actors involved in production and distribution, but could be a coincidence. Some people have said that them saying it led Kegan's Dropbox led to one of the biggest CSAM cases in Indiana history. It doesn't necessarily mean there was a large number of men who were accessing it. It could have been a large number of files. I mean, it could be read either way. Obviously, it seems more like it would be the number of people. Who knows how they could have tracked them down, but why did they not connect it to Rick Allen back in 2020? All right, you ready? Yeah, I did hear that loud breathing, but it didn't really seem to be matching up to what Fig's mouth was doing. So I don't know what that was about. It was not me. I'm a quiet breather. Milena Liv, I am disappointed with this affidavit, and quite frankly, maybe it's enough to arrest him, but come on, they need to do better. Well, we don't know what else they have, so we have to wait 4 years for the trial. The best crime solver was Libby. Yeah, I mean, it's curious to know how this case would have proceeded if they did not have the audio and video. Did police at first think, oh, well, somebody's got to recognize this guy and his voice within the first few days and weeks, and then time just kept going by. Nobody was really saying, we don't know that people were not saying, oh, that's Rick Allen, and police just did not follow up as they should have. Nat says, I'm not saying he's innocent, but why is there no video of him leaving or timestamp when his vehicle left the old CPS building, or did I miss that? Honestly, I just read it for the first time at the beginning of this, and I really haven't had a chance to think about it and get my facts straight. RG says, is it true that Rick's wife was staying with her mother in February 2017? Well, I know she worked at a vet's office, so she would have been at work probably on a Monday afternoon. But I've not heard that. Yaya says, I believe if YouTubers interview witnesses, they could get charged with interfering in an active investigation. Duty Ron mentioned it. Well, it's good I haven't contacted anybody. Lafayette Shenanigans was sheriffs not helping them. We have posts here for them. They see this stuff all the time. Not sure. Adam thinks the affidavit was an embarrassment to the prosecution. Melissa says, I just take the witnesses out of it. Rick puts himself there on the trail, on the bridge at the right time, wearing the clothes that are in the video. You don't even need the eyewitnesses. Yeah, a lot of this stuff does add up to me. And if I was on a jury, I would say he's guilty. Goat Dog says there's a YouTube creator, True Crime Design, who insists that Kelsey did it and the Patties helped, which I totally disagree with. I've never seen this person's videos, but I have seen them described in a bad way by people who have seen them. She's the one who made up that the prosecutor is related to the Patties. And like I said, Becky Patty said, I think last week, maybe on Facebook or an instant message that somebody shared online, that there is no relation between Becky Patty and the prosecutor. She mentioned some kind of marriage previously that ended in divorce with no kids, but it didn't seem like there was any kind of conflict. Sideshow Tim, do you think a jury will convict a person to death from this evidence? I'm not really that familiar with how trials work and all this other stuff and the death penalty and evidence. So I'm not going to speculate, but I would assume having some kind of DNA connection between the suspect and the crime scene, or the victim's DNA at Rick's house, would obviously be a lot better to get the death penalty. I think at this point, a lot of people just want him to be convicted and go to jail instead of a not guilty conviction, or whatever, found not guilty. Season says the trail cameras were not on. The simulation says the sealing and delay by Judge Diener, who was the first judge in this case who recused himself, was to protect the detective involved since 2017 so he could get elected, which that's Tony Liggett. I don't know. I don't think that the Indiana State Police would have delayed this arrest because they care about a sheriff's election in one of their counties in Indiana. I just don't think that. Yeah, people are asking me about these Idaho murders of 4 college kids. Hopefully it's going to be resolved soon. I'm not really that familiar with it, though. Tim says people hunt on or near a public hiking trail. Sounds dangerous. I mean, Ron Logan's property, I mean, it's not huge, but I would think that people, if you're aiming at a deer, you would know that there's not people behind them. Sorry, that sounds stupid. Yeah, people were triggered by breathing. I don't know what it was. Calm down, everybody. It wasn't me, though, I don't think, because I heard it. I don't know. Who cares? Hi, Vanna. I don't know what you're talking about. I missed 500 plus comments. Sorry. It's not personal. I don't see a lot of these. Ronnie, how long could they delay the probable cause affidavit getting out? They tried to do it permanently, along with a gag order. Yeah, I don't think the gag order has been approved yet. I know they filed it, and had Libby's family do a petition to keep it sealed. Well, I think obviously the family, all they want is justice for this. So anything that the prosecution says is going to help get a conviction, the family's obviously going to go along with it. I'm really curious to know how the family feels today reading this, that they have all this evidence for so long and the families have gone through hell for 5.5 years. Set Apart says there is remote viewing on trail cams. Okay, thank you. Oh, I posted the link. Sometimes, even though it's my own chat, people or YouTube does not show the link. So I don't know what happened. No one's tried to join yet, which is probably a good thing. Sorry, it's so boring. There's 1,000 people. Hi, 1,000 people. So what am I at here? All right, I'll go another 22 minutes at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock Eastern. Oh, Judy. So is Rick supposed to be both sketches? Don't get me started on the sketches, especially the 20-year-old one. I mean, yeah, what the heck was going on in April 2019 press conference talking about the shack? JM, they said Rick had his cell phone on the trails. Anyone know why it couldn't be tracked? If he was looking at stock prices, it definitely had a signal. Yeah, I talked about this a lot in my first video. But I think I saw something recently where Robert Ives talked with Barbara McDonald on, what's that called? Down the Hill podcast. He said it's not that easy to just get a blanket report of exactly all the cell phones that showed up within a small radius. I think something like that. But also Rick lived a mile and a half away. So can you really differentiate who is on the trails and who is a mile and a half away? I'm gonna have to ask Siri about who that is later. It better not be a diss. Somebody's asking Kevin a question. Kevin went bye-bye. Thank you, Alex. I think that's about me. I don't know. Wonder Girl, Hoosier Harvest Store video is west of CPS building. So are you sure? Because I thought I Googled like CPS, and I thought if you're looking on the satellite, Tom, the bad weather man, here we go. So I have to do this backwards. So here's CPS, whoops. To the right and east is that like industrial building. I thought that was called Hoosier Harvest Store. So that would be east of CPS. Am I wrong? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Lafayette shenanigans, there are not a lot of trail cams around the trails. I know that after the murders happened, they added security cameras in different places, maybe near Freedom Bridge and along the trails, but obviously it's too late. And anybody who's thinking that they're going to be able to see this evidence, I don't think these trials are televised in Indiana, so we might just get transcripts of all this stuff. Betty says it was not a sex crime. It looks more like targeted. Uh-oh, somebody wants to join. It looks more like targeted revenge message. Abby was simply there. Yeah, but it's like, why are they trying to get revenge against Libby? I mean, why is Rick? Hi, my guest. Can you raise your hand and wave to me? All right. Are you going to want to be on camera or just audio? Okay, so you can get off camera now. And then I'll bring you on to ask your question. Can you turn your video off? I can't hear you yet. Because you said you did not want to be on video, but I still see you. So you have to turn off the video portion of it. Okay, device not connected. But hopefully your microphone is. So I'm going to bring you on. No, it says your microphone's not connected. I'll give you a second to try and figure it out. Lima Beam says, strange Rick wouldn't think to look for phones. I don't think it's ever been said exactly where Libby's phone was found. So she may have dropped it on the south side of the creek. I'm sure we'll find out at the trial. E. Nick says they have Rick by the Little Gnome marbles. Yeah, so hi, Humanimal. 5 p.m. they thought the vehicle left. Why were they saying a vehicle parked between noon and 5? We're looking for the driver of a car at the CPS building between noon and 5. So I don't know. I have to go back and see. I think Fig said at 3:57 was when somebody saw Rick on the 300 road walking back to CPS. Did he sit in the car, like changing his clothes? I don't know. You would think, I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it. Wonder Girl says east. All right, my guest. I'm going to bring you on now. You're not on video, but hopefully your audio is. So here we go. Hi, can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Holy crap, I've never done this before. It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yep, join the club. But you're doing okay so far. Just don't be a troll.
No, I'm not a troll.
What do you
I just wanted to. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I have been following this case literally since I heard the news that the girls were missing. And I'm a young person living in a nursing home, so I have a whole lot of time on my hands. And I have checked the news every day for almost 6 years. And, I've done my own sleuthing and everything. And I'm just really excited that the case is finally moving forward.
I know it's like after all these years, what were you most surprised about to read about today in the affidavit?
I guess that there were so many witnesses, and the fact that he put himself there. I mean, I don't know if he was thinking, I know people like put themselves involved in their cases or whatever to try to get close to an investigation, but this seemed more like a, I'm going to pull one over on him kind of thing by going forward and just being like, yeah, I was there. Sure.
Well, he would have been, if he walked past at least 4 people, he
Yeah.
knew at some point somebody's going to say, so I guess he was kind of forced to at least say, yes, I was there. Maybe he was trying to get ahead of it, but I mean, it worked for 5.5 years, but
I know, right? And I mean, law enforcement, I mean, I heard that on a radio interview that Doug Carter did, that it didn't come from a tip, that they were basically just going back through some of their old files, and that's how they decided to look into it more. And that kind of surprised me. I thought, they've had this info since the beginning.
yeah.
And it just, I mean, I guess they were like, oh, I guess we should probably look into this.
Are you from the Indiana area?
I am from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, but it intrigued me from the day that it happened. Most murders and things like this don't have like video and audio of it, happening. And it was just with them not releasing any details. It's just been all so mysterious. And I think that's why it's captured, the attention of so many. And plus it's 2 little girls that lost their lives.
I mean, the police have somewhat criticized online sleuths and stuff, but there are so many murders that happen every day that get absolutely no media coverage. So just the fact that people have been talking about this for so long has kind of helped keep it in the public eye, which, I mean, there's pros and cons to that, but
I totally agree. And I think, podcasts and, people like you keeping a spotlight kind of on what's going on really helps. So good job, Tom.
Thank you. So if you were on the jury and you only had this evidence that you read today in the PCA, would you say would you vote Rick is not guilty or guilty?
Well, if you I wrote in the chat that like, if you put just the witnesses or just the bullet forensics or, just, the car thing, those individually may seem kind of flimsy, but if you put all of it together, I would definitely say guilty.
I agree with you. You're very smart.
Oh, and the video and audio, of course,
yeah, I mean,
that Libby caught, which was amazing that she did that.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to end up getting a conviction whenever this is going to happen.
I concur. I think, these little girls definitely need justice. And I'm so thrilled that it's actually, on the way of happening.
All right. Thank you for joining. Anything else you want to say before you go?
No, this is my first time calling a live, so.
You did a good job. Thank you for not being a troll.
Thank you, Tom, and you have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
All right, bye.
So I love to Hunt says, didn't someone say a long time ago they heard 1 shot fired? I've never heard any kind of rumor about gunshots being fired. Joan says maybe they are using charges against Rick's wife as leverage for a confession. That's a good idea. We'll see how that works out. But I mean, he's been saying he's innocent so far. And his wife is apparently supporting him. So I guess time will tell. Wonder Girl says, yes, the Hoosier hardware store, I think it's Harvest Store, is much closer to the trail entrance, nowhere near the CPS building. You'll have to figure that out later when that 900 people aren't watching me. Yeah, people are still asking Kevin. Oh, people must be watching from the beginning and commenting now. Kevin's not here. Susie Q, why was the bullet unspent? Yeah, I have no clue at this point. But I'd imagine maybe somehow if it's found in between Abby and Libby's bodies, and there was reference to them being moved and staged, I would assume at that point it may have accidentally fell out. He may not have known it until he got back home. I mean, I don't know if it's possible for it to be in his jacket pocket. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out at the trial. I don't agree with the first part, but I've heard about this, and so I'll read what you said. Look up Eye of Apophis on YouTube about the video on Libby's phone being messed with and out back, as well as the photo of Abby being wrong throw of timeline. I tried to watch 1 or 2 videos of that channel, and it was like way too confusing, and I totally didn't buy it, to be honest. I think the gist of it was that the pictures were taken the day before, and the Libby's family or something had something to do with the murders. It didn't add up to me. I think that's what those videos are about, and I wasn't buying it, to be honest. Marge, where is the Ford Focus now? I don't know. I think Fig said it was in the driveway. I'll have to go back and look and see exactly which cars were photographed in the Allen's house driveway on October 13th when the nosy neighbor was taking pictures. Yes, I think it's the Ron Logan document says they were killed with a sharp object, not shot. So I would be surprised if it turns out that they were shot. Hi, Tom. Thank you. It depends. You can have trail cams that connect to an internet jetpack and send you live pictures from the trail cam. All right. Thank you. K-Money, hi. Can we skip questions that imply Kelsey German is involved? That family has been through enough as is. Yeah. I just wanted to reference that one thing because I don't agree with that channel or anybody saying that. All right. I remember your script. Hi, we have a new guest. Do you want to be on video? Give 2 thumbs up or just audio, 1 thumb up? Just one? You don't want to be on video? No. All right. So just wave your hand so I can make sure you're not. All right. You can take off your video. All right. I'm going to bring you on now. You'll just be on audio. Hi there.
Hey, how's it going, Tom?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
What
Yeah, I just
I
want
saw some of your comments before, so luckily you're not a troll.
to. I appreciate it. No, not a troll. Oh yeah, I've been watching a bunch of your videos. You're a great researcher. I'm definitely. I peruse more videos, but yeah, there's nobody who kind of dives down into the details like you. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you're. I know you keep talking. You have been saying some stuff about the shell, and I think I'm not a gun expert, but I do kind of understand how it works. And they're saying that what he did is basically he had to have racked the gun, so the bullet would have been in the gun. He pulls the slide of it, and then there's a specific indent theoretically that would make. So it's a specific action. Like it couldn't have like fallen out of the gun or his pocket, or at least that is I'm pretty positive that's how it works, and it seems to be in like the affidavit that way.
So he had a bullet in the gun.
Exactly. So the way it would work would the bullet would be loaded in the chamber, ready to fire. So there would be another bullet next to it, like in the clip of the gun, right? He would basically rack the slide. He would it's like a piece.
It's like pulling it back.
Yeah, it's like if you were to look up a pistol, you can like rack the slide. It's a piece on the top that you can pull back, and they would eject the and basically the weapon wasn't fired, but at some point he pulled back that slide and the unshot bullet came out, right? So the bullet was never fired, but it was loaded into the gun. When he racked the slide, it makes a unique signature on the bullet itself, basically, is what's being said. Now, whether the science behind that is accurate, I'm not sure, but that's what the defense basically is claiming.
So can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
So I just searched a 40 caliber gun. So
Sure, yeah.
So you're saying he would pull back that top
Yeah.
part,
So,
the back?
yeah, if that top part basically is one piece, right? The clip goes in the bottom by the handle. The clip would be loaded, and then you would chamber around, which would basically be pulling it back. So there basically was a bullet in the chamber ready to fire. Right now, he never shot the gun, but what he did was pulled the slide, which made the live ammunition basically pop out of the top of the gun without it ever being fired.
Oh,
Basically wasting a bullet at the end of the day. Like that's what he did. It's like if he had 15 rounds in his weapon, he cranked that slide back, and then he would eject a live round, and it would have a unique marking on it theoretically from the gun. But it would never have been fired, but you would lose that ammunition. So you would go from 14 to 13 rounds.
So could it have been possible that when he saw them, he came into contact with them at the south end of the bridge and he pulls out the gun to intimidate them?
Yep.
Could he pull that back? Could the shell casing have fallen out onto the ground? He's like, oh, I have to pick that up right now. Picks up the shell casing, puts it in his jacket or something. Is that possible that it could later?
That could be possible. Yes. Yes. So if that would be a good point. Yes. So that's the only way it could have fallen out. But at some point, he would have had to have racked the slide. Basically, he would have had to have emptied one bullet out of the chamber, probably. And I did see someone else talk about this, but to intimidate, like it's almost like like you have a shotgun and you pump a shotgun to to show it's loaded. It's the same. Could be the same concept to intimidate.
Yeah, because that's really, I mean, I just thought of that as we were talking, but it seems like the way you're saying that it can only happen is maybe people said they heard like a gun cocking during the 43-second video. And I mean, I guess maybe it did pop out then. He possibly picked it up and then lost it when he was moving their bodies and maybe didn't really realize it until after. And obviously you can't go back to get it.
That would be possible. I mean, I remember them saying that he left signatures. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody would be kind of dumb enough to leave the bullet there. I think that's a little crazy. So I do think either A, it fell out of his pocket after he had picked it up, or B, he just it was heat of the moment and he forgot about it,
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate you explaining that.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else?
I mean, I could go on for days, but I don't want to like hog your time,
So if you had to vote on the jury today based on what you've seen, not guilty or guilty for Rick?
I mean, I'm definitely like I want to hear all the facts. But it's definitely, I personally think that I could easily see that basically the unique signature of the bullet coming out being something that happens on every, you know what I mean? It's like just like a fingerprint, or the same way you could tell if a bullet was fired throughout a certain barrel. I could easily see that imprint basically of when he cocked that gun, that lever back, and that bullet came out, that imprint would be the same on every bullet. And I think if that's repeatable and easy to see, then what I'm more curious to see is, who else is involved, and on who the police are thinking about. I know you saw some of the comments I posted originally, but I do think like maybe there's some sort of setup or something going on. I'm very curious to see who else was involved.
Yeah, I guess time will tell, but I'm interested too. It's like, it doesn't seem anything that they referenced in this PCA really describes anybody else on the trails that day.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if I don't know how redactions work. If they theoretically were to write up a different document, like, we see a certain page, 8 pages or whatever, maybe the original one was 16 and, it was rewritten, in which case we're missing chunks and chunks of paragraphs of people leading them in the direction. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously they at some point were suspecting a Klein. Was this completely random? Did they literally just find this by going back and finding, a piece of evidence, or did somehow they get tipped off in the proper direction? Yep. Well, we'll find out when the details come out in the trial, I guess, right?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it could be years, but hopefully it won't be that long.
Yeah, we'll see.
Didn't Rick have to request a speedy trial by a certain date and he missed that? I'm not sure. Do you know?
I did not see anything about a speedy trial. To be honest with you, I would assume if they're asking to move court dates, I think that the defense is probably going to play the long game on this one, and delay, because again, I think there's more evidence that was not in the PCA. Why would they be talking about so much about these third party people, and then be absolutely no mention of anything in the PCA? I think it's more heavily redacted maybe than people think.
All right. Well, I appreciate your input. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
No problem. See ya. IS says, I heard the witnesses, anyone involved, are silenced by a gag order. Well, I know that it was submitted by the prosecutor, but I don't recall that it was approved for the gag order for law enforcement and the families and the coroner also. Hi, Outdoor Loser. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I mean, finally, we're getting some of this evidence. Justice Sneery, the penalty is not based on the evidence. If a person is found guilty, then they are sentenced based on the crime they were convicted of, not the probability that they committed the crime. All right, thank you. You can see Abby's shoes aren't right. They're Chuck Taylors, which don't have logos on the outside. The video of RA seems to change so much when it's short as a GIF. I respectfully disagree. I think that this video was taken by Libby. I don't think it was taken at 2:07. I think at the end, they got to the end of the bridge at 2:07 or right before then. She had taken the pictures as they walked across, and she wasn't going to just like log on to Snapchat to upload them while they're walking across the bridge. So I think she waited until she got across. I've said this before, but I think she sat down on the end of the train track or whatever, while Abby was maybe walking around. Libby was uploading to Snapchat and did it at 2:07. And so 9 hours later was when people were looking into this, not the case, but they were looking to find out where the girls were. And so a friend took a snapshot of Libby's Snapchat, and it says 7H in that screenshot. So that means it was 7 hours after Libby uploaded it. And don't say that like Kelsey was at home. Yeah, sorry. I don't believe that. No offense. Hi, Illegally Blonde. I'll be frank. Who said 4 years for trial has lied? Well, I just said that Amanda Blackburn case, and it took 7 years. So some of these cases take a really long time for various reasons. And that guy was found within weeks of the murder of Amanda Blackburn. Adam says, how do we know more about the Idaho murders in 2 days than we did about the Delphi case until today? Yeah, I mean, if police were not so secretive, what could they have released that would maybe have pointed more people to Rick Allen? Hi, Taka. Thanks for joining. And everybody else. I'm still at 900. We'll see. Oh, didn't I say I was leaving? Oh, it's been 2.5 hours? All right, I'll go another 25 minutes to 3 hours. Hi, Cinder. If this is him, and I feel very strongly it is, his wife reported he still has the blue jacket. Where did his wife say that? The guy talking about hunting near a trail is not stupid. I wasn't insisting that he was, sorry. Stray bullets can go far behind what you can see through the scope. You learn about all this in your hunter safety course. Yeah, I wasn't insisting that he was wrong. Adam says gag orders should not include family. What, they can't have an opinion? Well, I don't think they care about them having opinions. I think they don't want them to release certain facts about the case before the trial starts. Terry says, I work with a family member and they did not know this was coming out today. Hi, Zero Cool. Hi, Carrie. Carrie, thank you. We have to remember in these CSAM groups, they're using aliases and VPN protection, etc. They don't know who they know. They just know what they want to see, you know? Well, Kegan had 6 to 7 devices and he wasn't using VPN. So, I mean, he's not the smartest person in town. All right, I'll post it one more time. 2 people somehow found it. Hold on. All right, I just pushed enter. It says StreamYard. Yaya says, I don't think the gag order will hold. This current judge seems to be a fan of the Constitution and law. And I don't know, even if there is not a gag order, are these people really going to be revealing information? The family and the coroner and all these other law enforcement agents have really seemed to have kept a lot of this so-called evidence or stuff quiet for a long time. So we'll see. Yeah, you would think that the bullet would have some of Rick's DNA. We have a guest. Can you wave with your hand? Show you real. Give 2 thumbs up if you want to be on video, or only 1 if you want audio only. All right, so you can take off your video now. All right, I'm going to bring you on, Pam.
Okay.
Hi, I don't see you, but I hear you.
Oh, well, guess what? You're going to see me because I got.
All right, you want me to take you off real quick?
I
Right.
wanted to know the affidavit talked about somebody in black. It seemed like they were talking about 2 different people. I missed the beginning. You guys might have talked about it, but I was wondering what is up with that.
Well, I'm wondering the same thing as you. So when I first started looking at this case at the 4-year anniversary, I looked at a lot of local TV coverage, and there was a girl, a teenage girl. I included her audio in my first Delphi video, my research, whatever. I did not want to show her face or her name because I didn't want people harassing her. But she said her friend was, I guess, one of these 3 teenage girls on the trail, and she said the guy was wearing black. That was within a few days of the murders on the local TV station. So are these girls misremembering like a dark blue with a black, or was it somebody else? I don't know. I guess it does definitely seem concerning that some people are saying it was black or all black.
Maybe that's why they think there could be more people involved.
But people are it said Rick was the only older guy on the trail. So was there a younger guy in black? I know there was some rumors initially that there was 2 younger teenage boys with hoodies who were on the trails. I don't know if it was one of those guys or not. You would think
Right,
that
like
they would
if
ask these
somebody
girls-
lured them.
Go ahead, sorry.
As I mean, if somebody lured them and someone else, I mean, and Alan was there to meet them, you know, perhaps I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely was confusing about the different clothing, but having people say, yes, Rick was wearing these jeans and this blue jacket and it matches up to the guy on the bridge. I mean, I think that's important. I don't know why they would have included this other black stuff to make it kind of contradict.
Yeah, I don't know either. It was like there was no purpose to it. But the other comment I wanted to make is I'm a little worried about the evidence because that bullet was unspent, so it has some markings, but not nearly the markings it would have had it gone through the barrel of the gun. And the rest of it appears to be eyewitness. Now they may have other stuff, but you would certainly think that they would give it their best shot in the affidavit.
So if you were on the jury as of right now with the evidence, would you say he's guilty or not guilty?
Ooh.
You
Well,
have to make a decision.
I don't think I could be on the jury. So I just think a defense attorney is going to be able to really create some serious doubt if, and that's a big if, that's all they have. And I don't know. They don't seem to have been doing the masterful job they alluded to, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So I don't.
But I mean, I think when you take all this stuff together, it's pretty damning against Rick that, I mean, I'm convinced. I feel better than I did. this
Really?
morning. Yes.
But
Who else-
eyewitness
who else could it have
testimony is the
been?
worst testimony in the world. And if you're a defense attorney, you're going to say, but this guy's picture's been out there. Everybody sees this guy, you know?
But they have these other cameras showing his car, and they said he was walking on 300 after the murders.
Well, they have an eyewitness who thinks they saw him walking.
But they have a similar car on the video from across the street.
A similar car, yes. Would you want to be convicted on that? I mean, I don't know.
Well, if all this stuff was going against me, then I would be concerned if I was Rick at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's a day in the park, but I just see a skilled defense attorney being able to get a hung jury out of this. I don't know. It's concerning. I really had hoped they had found like something that definitely tied him to it more
Well, maybe
than
they're
that
working on
bullet.
some DNA that will come back and show that there is some kind of connection.
That would be good. That would be fantastic. That would ice it.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Thank you, though. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Adam, I know your name, so I'll let you come on with, wait, let me just get, Adam, I'm bringing you on now. Adam?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What do you want to talk about?
Oh man, I guess Delphi case, right?
Yep.
It's nice to actually chat with you for once instead of trying to type everything out. I probably won't stay very long, but I'm worried, man. I'm worried about a conviction.
So you would say not guilty as of right now if you're on the jury?
Yeah, not that I don't think he is. It's just circumstantial evidence. All of it is circumstantial. That part definitely worries me.
So what would you need to, do you want to see some kind of DNA?
I'll bet there's a possibility that there's going to be touch DNA on the bodies. But they said that Abby and Libby didn't fight back. So I doubt there will be any under the fingernails,
Yeah.
which is usually really a good talking point when it comes to evidence.
Mhm.
But I'm probably going to have to run. I hate to run so quick, but I got to jump off of here.
No problem.
I'll probably be in chat, though, a little bit later.
All right. Thanks for joining
Hey,
and commenting.
thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye. Shirley says, what do you think they dug out of Rick's backyard? Yeah. Because, I mean, they didn't really reference anything in the PCA that would really say what they found at Rick's house other than, well, what did they say? The gun, obviously, and his clothing. I don't know about the yard. People said it was a very small section of the yard. I have no clue. I'm not going to act like I do. Sergeant Buddha says law enforcement looked into Rick going to Tennessee in 2021, so not just 2022 found Rick again. That's the first I've heard of that, Sergeant Buddha. Joan says other people knew that Abby and Libby were there and could have told Rick. When the girl saw him in the platform, he was lying in wait. He didn't go after the girl alone. They were a threat to someone. I think that was a woman who saw him. Not that it makes a difference, but if he's looking for teenage girls, he's not going to bother a woman who's, I guess he was at the first platform on the bridge, which I don't know exactly how far out that is. I could bring up Google Maps now, but I don't want to. Hold on. Let's see. What's this? Somebody sent me a message. Trial starts March 20th, 2023, not in 4 years. Googled it multiple times. Yeah, but we're just saying that there could be a lot of delays to the trial, and it might not happen as soon as we hope. Patricia says stock prices, a shift supervisor at CVS. Stock prices, maybe stocking the shelves at CVS. There, that's one joke for people who only watch for my random jokes. Anyway, that was a pretty good one. Good night. Yeah, thanks to everybody from Europe who stayed up late to join this. Jordan, what do you think is the strongest thing they have on him so far? And what do you think the defense will use to try to prove reasonable doubt? I don't know. I just read the PCA at the beginning of this for the first time, so I can't really get my thoughts in order to really answer this. But I mean, the bullet in between the bodies matching a gun he owns is a huge thing. I think all of it just together adds up to who else could it be? I know some people disagree with me on that, but that's fine. Frankie Figs, you cannot see the CPS building from the video. I know we're talking about different videos. I think there's surveillance video showing the CPS building and a car that was parked at it. I wasn't talking about Libby's video. Yeah, sorry, I'm a half hour behind on comments. Somebody said that's going to be on my tombstone. Sorry, I'm a half hour behind on comments. It's better than 2 hours in one of my previous videos or live chats. LibCom, practically every courtroom in Indiana has streaming to their own. It may have just been Carroll County does not do live trials. I'll have to look into it. Taka Boom says, would this not be a good reason for cameras in the courtroom? Yeah, there's so many people who are interested in it. It's like, is everybody going to read transcripts every night? Which I said I will do a live chat every night of a trial, but I said I'll probably be bald by the time the trial starts. Kegan is joining from prison. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Kleins are involved with this at all. Ryan says, what is the reason the conservation officer's tip got ignored or dismissed? I really want to know. Did it get lost with all these other tips that were coming in? But I mean, it's like this guy says he's on the trails. Why are you paying attention to these other tips? Or were they just focusing on Ron Logan in the first month or so when some of these earlier tips got disregarded? I just can't understand it. Venus Gal, clothing from both girls was found. Seems to have a sexual vibe to me. I don't know if nothing was mentioned that was found at Rick's house. There was 2 items of clothing that were supposedly missing from the direct crime scene, which people speculated was, I think, was it one of Libby's socks and her underwear? But it said it was possibly found over down by the creek or somewhere else. I'm not sure that it was taken for sure, both those items, and like as a souvenir that people speculated. Aaron, yes, I read the entire 7 pages of the PCA at the beginning of this, at the very beginning. But I'm sure it's online somewhere. I'm sure somebody emailed it to me, but I'm sure it's online for people to read. Go check out Reddit if you want to read it yourself. Hi, True Crime Maria. Law enforcement did say at some point over the years that the phone was found near the girls' bodies. I wish I could remember where that law enforcement statement was made. I'm quite sure they said that though. Bud said Kegan was so quick to admit to the CP, but wanted nothing to do with the murders. How can he not be involved? I'm really curious as to why he finally seems to be talking and saying that he and his dad were involved when neither Kegan nor Tony have been arrested for any involvement. Yeah, I thought that I remember that name. Steve Prefontaine was a legendary runner known for going the distance. Definitely a compliment. Thank you, Jason. Yaya says, usually in violent edged weapon attacks, the perp will cut themselves in the process. God, I hope they process the crime scene competently. I hope they would. I mean, they had a lot of like warning. If I don't want to say his name, but the guy who saw them from the opposite side of the creek when he was looking at deer, they knew to hopefully approach the crime scene in a way where they could process it the way it should have been. I don't know. Kathy says, it puzzles me that Rick is not associated with any sort of crime of this nature, either any time before these murders or in the 5 years since these murders. Yeah, a lot of people said, oh, well, if he did this, he's going to kill again. But as far as I know, Rick was never arrested before this. Great caller. Yeah, thank God they weren't trolls. Cheryl says, what drug this out for 6 years? They had the witnesses as well as the shell casing. This case seems like a slam dunk to me with no mention of Klein being involved. No clue why this took so long. Susie Q, charges for the wife, time will tell. I mean, if she's standing by him, is she protecting herself? So many people have speculated, how could you not know this was your husband wearing that outfit, hearing his voice? I don't know. Hi, Kim. Thank you. Vanna, I'm not ignoring you. Vanna thinks Rick liked little girls. He freaked out when he saw how easily they went with him. Could have told them he lost his puppy, kitten, cigarettes, maybe even the boy they thought they were going to meet. Well, I guess we'll find out at the trial when we either hear it or read a transcript, because I don't think we're going to find out until then. Sorry, I'm just going through comments. Hold on. There's so many comments. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm missing hundreds of comments. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm missing thousands of comments. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just like scrolling through and ignoring all of you. Sorry. I'm trying to get caught up. Here we go. What's this? Hi, Rebecca. Thank you very much. I have also heard his wife has the jacket still. Like, why are you? I mean, I guess it would have looked odd if he suddenly did not have his blue jacket. And his wife's like, well, the guy on the bridge has a blue jacket, and I haven't seen you wearing your blue jacket since the murder. So, yeah, people question why would he still keep it, but maybe he was trying to prevent his wife from being suspicious. Tim says blue jacket and blue jeans is too common clothes unless they have the girl's DNA on them if he did keep the clothes. I mean, I don't know that their DNA would be on these clothes years later after many washes. Hi, Charmaine. Thank you very much. How many similar cars are in the Delphi area? Plus, is it possible one of the girls found the bullet on the bridge, put it in her pocket, and it fell out at the crime scene? Boom, reasonable doubt. Hope there's more evidence. If I was on the jury, I would not buy that. An 8th grade girl is like, oh, here's a bullet. Let me bring it in for show and tell. Charmaine wants her money back. Sorry. I'm just giving my honest advice. And how many similar cars are in the Delphi area? Well, I think that the surveillance video is not clear enough from this Hoosier Harvest store that you can say, okay, it is definitely this type of vehicle. So I don't know. Somebody before said, why couldn't you just look up how many people own a Ford Focus in Delphi and take you to Rick's house? I just don't know that the video was clear enough to identify an exact type of car. Hi, JW. Not guilty. If this is all they have, I still think Kegan is involved. Well, Kevin from Murder Sheet said before, we might get some more evidence. I think it's February 17th is this bail date. And there's something other that they're deciding on February 17th. So I don't know. It's like, if we don't find out more information in February, do we have to maybe wait 2 years to find out more information when the trial starts? CC Cooper says, with knowing this and seeing Libby's video, Rick's family had to have known. Sad. Yeah. We'll see how long his wife stands by him. Because, I mean, if this was my dad and I saw this information come out, I'd be asking him a lot of questions. True Crime Maria, I was quite shocked to read that clothing from both of the girls was found in the creek. Was that in the PCA? I don't remember reading that today. I know that there was initially like the police scanner on the day the girls were found. They said some kind of underwear or undergarments was found either near the creek or floating in the creek, but it's never been confirmed. All right. Thank you, Phil, for your on the ground report. I walked the bridge recently, and the first platform is not very far out. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure all of you can just Google Monon High Bridge and look at a satellite view. I was going to do it right now, but forget it. Uh-oh, it's 2 minutes away from 3 hours. Oh my gosh. Amanda is driving and just pulled over at a gas station. Why the hell does it seem like people are being so rude to Tom? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark. Luckily, my moderators have deleted it, so I haven't really seen anything that rude. I'm fine with people having different opinions. But when somebody has a different opinion from me, I diss them. Yeah, I'll go for 10 more minutes. That's it. David, the bullet in the casing, together unfired, is unspent, is called a cartridge or round. The bullet comes out the danger end. The casing comes out the breech, the back. All right. Thank you, David. Yeah, I don't know how it would have ended up there. When that guy before was describing it, maybe he did pull it back when he was at the bridge. It fell. He put it in his pocket and it somehow fell when he was moving the bodies around at the crime scene. Illegally Blonde says the emotions Carter showed during the press conference announcing Rick's arrest shows me there is more evidence and he has a solid case. We'll see. Ivan said the saddest thing is if Rick does not confess, this will be a very long and ugly trial, which will drag all kinds of details and speculations. Agreed. High caricature contest. Rick was the only short white dude in those clothes, admitted to being there looking at fish. What the heck? He's the only possible suspect. Why did it take the police until 2022 to question him again? No clue. I mean, we can all act like, I mean, people say armchair detectives and, oh, this is what we would have done. But I mean, I tried to say the police, I mean, they were obviously overwhelmed at first, but even I mean, this just does not add up to me that he was not looked into further at the time. Trish says the unnecessary secrecy made it worse. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know what they could have released that would have led more people to tip in Rick, or that they even really needed people to tip in Rick. Hi, Colt. Yeah, I should have asked you. I know you're very knowledgeable with guns. If there were two witnesses and there is one drugstore and pharmacy in town and close enough to eye color, how do they not put it together? I don't know. It's like if police knew that Rick was on the trail and matched up to all these things, why could they not show a picture of him? I mean, it's not that difficult to say, okay, this was the guy. He said he works at CVS. I mean, take a sneaky video, which I've done. You pretend like you're on your phone and you take a video. Anyway, not in a bad situation, but anyway, I'll have to delete this part later. No, it's not in a bad situation. Yeah, I look really, see, yeah, I'm not that pink. When I sit back, I'm more pink. Anyway, well, am I stopping this now? Yeah, so how do they not put it together? It's like, why not take a picture of this guy and show these four witnesses again? It's like, did this look like the guy that you saw a few days ago? Hi, Sunny Girl, or hey, Sunny Girl, hey. Did there end up being any truth to the story about Rick having an alter ego under a different name with an arrest record? Well, when his arrest came out, it showed in this legal document alias was Craig. It might have had a middle name, but Craig Rentfro, who is a real guy in Indiana, who's middle aged, and it's Craigh, which is an unusual spelling, I think. So we have not heard any more about why he was using that alias or why it was referenced. Megan says, I can't believe people think it would be not guilty. The guy literally put himself there. Agree. Hi, Lori. I missed your first comment. I'm sure you're here, and thank you for your kind words always. Trish, please stop trusting MS. Murder Sheet. I trust them. They have not released anything that has been proven to be false. They said law enforcement was focusing on Tony Klein, and it seems like they were focusing on Tony Klein as of this past summer. So that's my opinion. I've not seen where Murder Sheet has been wrong with facts. Hi, Dave. Thanks. You'll unsubscribe on Sunday when you see the other kinds of videos I put out. Yeah, Colt, thank you. I know you're very good with guns, but I think some other people gave us a good idea before. Hey, Sassy. Rick put himself at the bridge. I mean, come on. He had on the blue jacket and blue jeans. It was his bullet from his gun. Sassy is getting sassy. She's having a hot flash. Uh-oh, she's unsubscribing. How many more minutes did I say? 5. That's it. It's a countdown. Hi, David. I'm leaving soon. Uh-oh. Hi, Jane. Who owns a purple PT Cruiser, Rick? No, he doesn't, but somebody who drove by described it as that. And a smart car, and I forget, a small SUV, but he has a Ford Focus or something. Thank you for all the nice comments you guys are saying. I'm not highlighting them, though. Oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot of people clean their houses and water their plants when I do these. Hi, Charlotte. I didn't take your advice to throw out all my plants. I love them too much, but thanks for keeping me company during my plant chores. You're the best. Thank you. You should start a YouTube channel about keeping plants alive, and you can do live chats. Tom sharpens his cat claws on troll flesh. It kind of tickles. Wom Tepster has money? Oh my gosh. Hi, Wom. Thank you for joining. I'm going to look like this picture by the time the trial starts. Uh-oh, yeah. Let me do this real quick. To any trolls. Oh, wait, I have to undo this. Oh, there it is. That was from my first June chats. I was trying to crack down on the nonsense. Yeah, so for people who missed, I first started doing chats in June. This is my 11th one. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so I let people come on. I just put the link in the description, and somebody showed an adult movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I get this off the screen? So I've been kind of wary of letting people on, but thank you to the 3 people who joined today and were not trolls. Scott, thank you for joining and commenting as always. Uh-oh. Jiu-jitsu, stop assuming he wasn't looked into further, but I mean, they didn't look into him further enough. Megan, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about necessarily, but probably because his face was covered. There has been mention that he had like a scarf up to his nose or something at some point. So I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't understand about this case. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately for Richard Allen, Johnny Cochran has passed away. Well, his 2 defense lawyers seem to be somewhat competent. Don't tell him I said that. Yeah, I agree with this, Barbara. Wonder where the reddish brown hair thing came from in the beginning. It wasn't just the beginning. It was on those wanted posters saying the guy they're looking for has reddish brown hair. But I think in that PCA I just read, it said gray and brown, not reddish. Two more minutes. Hi, Plead the Fifth. That's the first I've seen you. Welcome back. Colt sharing some gun knowledge. Not all firearms are semi/full action in operation or are breech loaders. He could have used revolver. Well, I think they said it was a 40 caliber, which I don't know what that is. He could have used revolver, single shot, break even, old style martini action, multi-barrel. Colt, I'm sure you'll see. Go back to the beginning of the video if you want. I read the entire PCA and I showed it on the screen, and you'll see what was revealed. Patricia, let's focus on the trial, get to the truth, then question the investigation. The trial's not going to be for a really long time, I think. JM, where's Maury Povich when you need him? Rick Allen, you are the killer. Yeah, I would agree at this point that it does seem like he obviously made them go down the hill, so. All right, everybody be nice in the chat to each other. Yeah, Colt, we did some stuff, but thank you for always adding your knowledge to my comments under my videos. Aspen Connor, hi. I did not see you join. Watering plants while discussing true crime could be a profitable niche. Thank you for joining, Aspen. Well, I am sometimes rude to some people who comment, but it's just my humor. No offense is meant. But I mean, if somebody says something, I just give my honest opinion. I can't like BS people, sorry. Uh-oh, a European is staying up late. You can play it back tomorrow when the sun is out. Hi, Lori. Thank you for always joining and always giving me nice comments. Oh yeah, maybe I'll take my banner down. That's not a diss against Gray Hughes. It's like he does this, what, like 4 hours every night for years. I don't blame him for being a little crotchety. All right, there we go. All right, I'm finishing this up in a second. Thank you, caricature contest. Yeah, when the trial is over, whenever that's going to be, I'm going to go back and watch my video, not the creepy intro. My intros are ridiculous. I know, trust me, nobody hates them more than I do. And look, I do blink. Anyway, I'm going to go back and I'll ignore all the other suspects that I said I didn't think add up. And hi to everybody who thought it was Brian Chadwell. Yeah, I'm sure I got a lot of things wrong. I've never acted like I'm an expert on this case, but I mean, I was just trying. So I'm curious to see what I got right and what I did not. And I really want to find out what was in Rick's jacket that I was trying to figure out. Jiu-jitsu. There may be exculpatory evidence that caused the investigators to look away from Allen at the time. Hey Siri, what is exculpatory evidence?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, me neither. We'll look it up later. Me and Siri are going to look up the definition of exculpatory evidence. Didn't I say I was leaving like 10 minutes ago? No, go to sleep. Yeah. I mean, there's a rumor that, I mean, I see somebody said something in the chat. People have been bringing up this Cody Patty guy and who's adopted into the Patty family and saying that he was hooking up with either Kelsey and or Libby, and like either Libby or Abby were pregnant. That's been a rumor, but somebody said a good point. if it turned out in the autopsy that one of the girls had a baby, wouldn't Rick have been charged with 3 counts of murder? And he was only charged with 2, sorry. Koala the best. Do you think the man in black was someone different? I can't figure it out. I don't know if it's just the witnesses assume that the darker blue jacket maybe looked black at a certain angle or something. I mean, but the sun was out, so you think the blue part of it would have been noticeable. I don't know. Raven, in the PCA, it mentions Freedom Bridge, the old railroad bridge, and Monon High Bridge. Are they all different bridges? So Monon High Bridge is the bridge that the girls crossed and is the most well-known bridge in this case. Freedom Bridge is that one at the start of the trails, which goes over the Hoosier Heartland Highway. The old railroad bridge, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look into this. I think that might be further west, but I'm not sure. All right, let me go down to the bottom here. Oh, God. The bottom is never ending. Thank you, True Crime Maria. Thank you for always joining and participating and donating. Thank you. Do a Tom and Adam show from the Peach Pit. Only a few people will get that reference. Oh no, Megan says nobody else is allowed on. All right. Am I wrapping this up? I still have so many comments. All right. A few more minutes. All right, I'll go 14 more minutes. That's it. Oh my gosh. Siri, make me a Reuben sandwich. Yeah, so I bought 2 pounds of pastrami for Reubens for Thanksgiving. And right before this, I made a 1 pound pastrami omelet. It seems Tom doesn't really want us bashing other content creators here in this chat. Maybe we could all respect that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I make snarky comments, but please be respectful of other content creators unless they're huge trolls. Like I said, some people are kind of spreading some false rumors, but just be nice to each other in the comments, please. Steph, that's never. But I mean, this was somewhat interesting. And thank you to Fig Solves. Thank you to the Murder Sheet. I know some people don't like them, but I think they're fine. Thank you to all the moderators. Thank you everybody for joining. Am I wrapping this up now? I just did 15 minutes. Let's see, what is going on here? Thank you, Love Tina. Hopefully it's Turner and not something else. Eat at the after. Finally, your screen name shows up with spaces instead of me trying to figure it out. Aren't you the lawyer who said you would join for helping with lawyer stuff? Luckily, Kevin joined before. I don't know if you agree with him or not. You're the best, waiting for your take all day. Thank you. I appreciate your comments and your donation. I used 4 eggs. It wasn't a 1 pound. Actually, probably, no, it wasn't 1 pound of pastrami. I was kidding about that, but. All right, I guess I'm wrapping this up. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. I think we've really talked about. Ow. All right, my face color changes as I get closer. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Oh, yeah, so people want to know, when's my next live chat? I just made a face. When the trial starts? Yeah, I'm not really, I don't really see anything. Sorry if I'm too close to the microphone. I don't know when I'm doing another live chat, but I'll try to give you a heads up. Yeah, so I'm wrapping this up. Hopefully I got everybody's donation. If you gave me something and I did not thank you, I apologize. I just missed like 1,000 comments in this chat. Aspen Freedom Bridge crosses Highway 300, and it also crosses 25, which is Hoosier Heartland, I think. My family homestead donated it because it didn't fit when they built. Adam, are you kidding? What? Yeah, I'm going. Sorry. 3 hours and 19 minutes. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you, as always, for joining. Bye.